Chapter 633. The golden rain that filled the sky scattered between the heavens and the earth, and a mysterious and ancient talisman gate appeared in the sky above the nine heavens. At this moment, it wasn't just Mount Kunliu. The entire victorious East Province had broken its original peace and caused a huge uproar. A natural phenomenon. What did this mean? Was it the arrival of a disaster or the arrival of an opportunity? The vast eastern continent seemed to be about to usher in an unprecedented storm. This is? On Mount Kunliu, Chu Hen stared at the magnificent scene in the sky in shock. This was the first time he had seen such a scene. After about the time it took to drink half a cup of tea, the phenomenon in the sky gradually dimmed. That huge, godlike ancient formation gate slowly concealed itself and then disappeared without a trace. The drifting golden rain was still spreading, but it was also slowly becoming smaller. However, the confusion and shock in everyone's heart became stronger and stronger. It's been 1,000 years. That place is finally going to open again. The flying celestial hall master, Chi Hanyu, stood on a high platform. Her pair of majestic eyes revealed some emotions. 10 more days. On the other side, the demon-slaying hall master, Wen Liang, narrowed his eyes and a formless aura surged out. The victorious East Province is going to become lively again. The Void Hall Master, Xie Wuhe, nodded and raised his head. His hands are behind his back and his aura was extraordinary. The eyes of the three Hall Masters turned cold and they shouted in unison. Ancient desolate heaven domain. After an hour, the mysterious golden rain of light finally stopped. The sun set and the night fell. However, the entire Mount Kunliu was in an endless uproar. Dang! The sect's highest emergency assembly order resounded. In an instant, many figures rushed towards the flying Celestial Hall's conference hall. The various elders, including the three hall masters, had called for 2 emergency meetings in a short few days. This kind of situation had not happened for a long time. It was easy to imagine that the importance of the matter behind this strange phenomenon was not any weaker than the news of sect leader Gong Yangyu. Feeling the bustling Mount Kunliu, Chu Hen's heart was also filled with many questions. Do you know what happened? Chu Hen asked the sacred winged heavenly flame sparrow. The ancient desolate heaven region is about to open. It seems that 1,000 years have already passed. The sacred wing heavenly flame sparrow's voice was filled with uncertainty. Ancient desolate heaven domain. Chu Hen's pupils shrank slightly, and his heart couldn't help but tremble slightly. This was not the first time he had heard of this name. The last time he had heard of it was at the Heavenly Sword Pavilion. At that time, the Azura sect's Lian Shi, the illusory rain sect's Helian Zhong, and the otherworldly spirit sect's Flying Snow Palace personally went to the Heavenly Sword Pavilion to ask the Sword Pavilion Master, Mu Xiong Kai, for the Buddha Demon Sword and the Great Pagoda Devil Mantra. It was said that these 2 items were obtained by the first Sword Pavilion Master in the ancient desolate heaven domain. It had been 1,000 years since then, but it was still remembered by the other 3 sections. Although he had heard of it before, Chu Hen was extremely unfamiliar with the ancient desolate heaven domain. What kind of place is it? To put it simply, it's an independent realm. There are many different theories about how this realm was formed. Some say that it's an ancient war-torn land where many eternal powerhouses broke out in an earth-shattering holy war and fell there. It's called the Holy War Ruins. Others say that it's a plane created by an ancient powerhouse to give blessings to future generations. In any case, there's a lot of rumors, and in the end, even their guardians don't know which rumors are true. The sacred wing heavenly flame sparrow paused for a moment before it continued. However, it's undeniable that there are many opportunities in the ancient desolate heaven domain. Chu Hen's eyes lit up. He knew that this damn bird had a high standard. There were many things that it did not care about. It was rare for it to acknowledge the ancient desolate heaven domain. However, how could he go there? How could he go there? These were all questions that he had to face. After all, there were so many people in the world who knew about the ancient desolate heaven domain. If he wanted to go there, it would not be as easy as saying he wanted to. However, based on the reaction of the people at Mount Kunliu, there might be news coming soon. Before that, he just had to wait patiently. In the blink of an eye, 3 days had passed. The atmosphere at Mount Kunliu was extremely restless. Not only did it not weaken, but it also became more and more lively. All sorts of news about the ancient, desolate heaven domain spread like wildfire. However, Chu Hen remained patient and absorbed the water soul essence's energy in his room every day. It was as though what was happening outside had nothing to do with him. On the 4th day, whoosh, Chu Hen woke up from his cultivation state and let out a long breath of turbid air. I didn't expect that after 4 days, I've only refined this little bit of the water soul essence. Chu Hen understood something as he sensed the water soul essence that had shrunk in his dantian. Initially, he thought he would be able to refine such a small piece of water soul essence in just a few days. However, the reality was too different. However, what made Chu Hen surprised was that the bloodline power of the demon pupil sacred body had increased by quite a bit. Of course, Chu Hen did not expect that a small piece of water soul essence would be able to level up and evolve the demon pupil. This was not realistic. The higher the limit of the bloodline, the harder it would be to level up, especially the demon pupil, one of the 10 strongest saint bodies. Therefore, Chu Hen did not think too much. He would take it step by step and slowly improve. At this moment, a series of hurried and chaotic footsteps came from afar. Then came the heavy knocking on the door. Bang, bang, bang. Without thinking, Chu Hen knew that it was Hua Shui. Out of so many people, she was the only one who was so insensitive. Hey, 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 hurry up and open the door. As expected, a familiar voice was shouting outside the door. Hua Shui, be gentle. It would be bad if you disturb Chu Hen's cultivation. Jishu's gentle voice came out. Oh, I was too excited. I almost forgot. I won't kill him, right? You. Seriously, you're so big, and yet you're so reckless. Creak. The door opened. Hua Shui, who was caught off guard, hit her head on Chu Hen's chest. Hua Shui immediately touched her forehead that was pretending to be in pain. Don't you have eyes? Are you blaming me? Chu Hen did not know whether to laugh or cry. However, seeing that the 4 ladies were all here today, he was even more surprised. What? Guarding me together? Chapter 634. I have 2 pieces of news for you. One is good news, and the other is not bad. Hua Shui touched her head that was hurt by the collision with one hand, and said with surprise with her eyes wide open. 2 pieces of news? Chu Hen raised his eyebrows and replied with interest. Let's talk about the second one first. Yes, the Demon Slayer Hall Master and the Void Hall Master have already reached a compromise. They won't do anything to you for now, but you have to be the leader and lead us to find the Heaven and Earth Mystic Yellow Order in the name of a disciple of the Flying Immortal Palace. Heaven and Earth Mystic Yellow Order? What's that? Chu Hen was more confused the more he listened. It can't be? You still don't know? Hua Shui looked at him strangely. Know what? Haven't you been talking about it? Chu Hen replied. All right, Hua Shui, let me tell you. Playing the zither, he walked 2 steps forward and looked at Chu Hen with a serious expression. A few days ago, in the evening, did you see the strange phenomenon that occurred in the sky? I did see it. That's the sign that the ancient desolate heaven domain is about to open. This also means that the East region is about to release the Heaven and Earth Mystic Yellow Order. The ancient desolate heaven domain is a special independent plane. There are many legends and rumors about it. The passage to this plane opens once every 1,000 years, and the so-called Heaven and Earth Mystic Yellow Order is equivalent to a pass to enter there. In other words, not everyone has the right to enter the ancient desolate heaven domain. They must first obtain the Heaven and Earth Mystic Yellow Order. Fuqin paused for a moment, then pursed her red lips and continued to explain. The Heaven and Earth Mystic Yellow Token is divided into 4 command medallions, which are the Heaven Token, Earth Token, Profound Token, and Yellow Token. A single command medallion also has the qualifications to enter the ancient desolate heaven domain, but only 4 people can enter at most. If all the command medallions are gathered, then the entire sect will have the right to enter. Fuqin's explanation was very detailed. Chu Hen listened carefully. The ancient desolate heaven domain was about to open. The heaven and earth mystic yellow order was the pass to enter the ancient desolate heaven domain. What if two of the four tokens are the same? Chu Hen asked. No. Fu Qin shook his head decisively. Only four different tokens can be considered a complete set. Even if you gather 10 heaven tokens or 20 mysterious tokens, it can't compare to four unique heaven earth black yellow tokens. Where can I get the heaven and earth mystic yellow order? Chu Hen asked the most crucial question. Fu Qin shook his head. They could be in any corner of the victorious East State. Furthermore, the quantity is extremely limited. We only have a year to collect them. After hearing those words, Chu Hen instantly understood. This seemingly simple matter, in reality, was unimaginably difficult to accomplish. The location of the heaven and earth mystic yellow tokens was the first problem. Even if he knew where it was, he would have to fight with countless people for it. The ancient desolate heaven domain only opened once every 1,000 years. One could imagine how many people wanted to enter. The number of spots was extremely limited. In the following year, there would definitely be a huge bloodbath in the Dongsheng province due to the fight for the heaven and earth black yellow tokens. Chu Hen hesitated for a moment before asking, "Why did you give me such a huge responsibility?" "Because you're the successor chosen by sect leader Gong Yang," Fu Qin replied. "What else?" In the past 10 days, the three palace masters have argued countless times over the matter of the new sect leader. Because of the release of the heaven and earth black yellow order, the higher-ups of the Kunliu sect came up with an agreement after a strict discussion. What agreement? Each of the three great palaces will send out a team to fight for the heaven and earth black yellow tokens. Whoever successfully brings back 4 tokens will be elected as the new sect leader. Fu Qin explained tirelessly. Who will lead the other 2 teams? Chu Hen asked. Nangongho will lead the Devil Slayer Palace's team, while Lung Lingyan will lead the Void Palace's team. Whoosh! After listening to their narration, Chu Hen instantly had a feeling of exhaustion in his heart. Tired, he was really tired. Externally, he had to fight for the heaven and earth black yellow tokens with the various teams in the victorious East State. Internally, he had to fight for the position of sect leader. Who exactly did he offend? Why was there so much trouble every day? This is the not bad news you're talking about. It doesn't seem to be beneficial to me at all. All of you know better than me how many forces there are in the victorious East State. How difficult do you think it is for me to fight for the pass, to enter the ancient desolate heaven domain? The 4 women fell silent. They did not know how to answer. However, they did not tell Chu Hen that this was already the greatest effort they could fight for. Due to the blue ran sword, Chu Hen was completely tied to Mount Kunliu. If Chu Hen wanted to leave, the blue ran sword would have to stay. If Chu Hen did not leave, he would not be able to convince the Devil Slayer Palace Master, Void Palace Master, and the people of Mount Kunliu to accept him as the new sect leader. Due to the ancient desolate heaven domain opening, the Flying Celestial Palace Master fought for an opportunity for Chu Hen. The 3 great palaces worked together to fight for the heaven and earth black yellow tokens. Fighting against the various groups of the victorious East State was not only a test of one's cultivation, but also a test of one's leadership ability, tracking ability, and commanding ability. If Chu Hen could defeat the other 2 great palaces and bring back the heaven and earth black yellow token, it would prove that he had the ability to become the sect leader. However, if Chu Hen failed, it would mean that he was inferior to the others. Naturally, it would not be his turn to become the sect leader of Mount Kunliu. Qin, Qi, Shu, and Hua had indeed done their best. The Flying Celestial Palace had also done their best to force the other 2 palace masters to take a step back. However, everyone had neglected the most fundamental problem. That was, Chu Hen did not really want to become the sect leader. The blue ran sword was forcefully recognized by Gong Yangyu to be Chu Hen's master. The reason why Chu Hen came to Mount Kunliu was to give the 4 women an explanation. So, everything that seemed to be the most reasonable was, in reality, unfair to Chu Hen. We won't force you. After remaining silent for a long time, Fu Qin finally said those words. Nongqi, Jishu, and Hua Shui's eyes were filled with disappointment. They did not tell Chu Hen that they would follow Chu Hen in the process of searching for the heaven and earth black-yellow token. In other words, they would also have to face the dangers that Chu Hen faced. The fate of the 5 people and the sect leader was practically linked together. That's it then. We'll think of another way. Then, Fu Qin turned around and left. The other 3 followed behind silently. However, at this moment, a hearty and gentle voice sounded from behind. I'm actually very curious about the ancient desolate heaven domain. Can the 4 of you help me? The moment this was said, the 4 women stopped in their tracks and turned around subconsciously. They saw Chu Hen leaning against the door with his arms crossed in front of him. A gentle smile hung on the corner of his mouth. The 4 of them smiled as well. They felt an indescribable warmth in their hearts. Hua Shui casually wiped away the tears at the corner of her eyes. She almost cried just now. You bastard, are you trying to scare us to death? As she spoke, she patted Chu Hen's shoulder. Chu Hen laughed heartily. All right, I was wrong. After telling you this not bad news, it's time to tell me the good news. Are you sure you won't disappoint me? Chapter 635. Before you depart, you can enter the mysterious soaring realm to comprehend and cultivate once. When Hua Shui said this, her large watery eyes were suffused with a glow of envy. Before Chu Hen could speak, Hua Shui spoke first. I know that you're definitely going to ask what the mysterious soaring realm is. Smart. Chu Hen laughed as he knocked the other party's head. Hua Shui hurriedly shrunk her head back and giggled as she waved her hand at Jishu and said, Senior sister Jishu, explain to this bumpkin what the mysterious soaring realm is. The few of them smiled. Jishu's beautiful eyes lightly raised as she said softly, The mysterious soaring realm is one of the 3 great realms of our sect, and it possesses an extremely miraculous and powerful energy. Cultivating once in the mysterious soaring realm is equivalent to a few years in the outside world. Moreover, those with high natural talent are usually able to comprehend powerful martial techniques from the mysterious soaring realm. For example, the solitary sword flying celestial art cultivated by our sect leader, Gong Yangyu, was comprehended from the mysterious soaring realm. Solitary sword flying celestial art? That's a pretty scary name. TSK, what do you know? Hua Shui's small eyes glanced at Chu Hen with slight disdain as she said, This solitary sword-flying celestial art is the strongest of the 3 strongest martial techniques of our sect. Even a Void Hall's Void Heavenly Seal technique and the Devil Slayer Hall's Grand Devil Slayer technique are ranked behind it. That year, sect leader Gong Yangyu's flying celestial sword technique swept through an army and shocked the entire victorious East State. Think about how magnificent that scene was. It's that powerful? Chu Hen's eyes lit up. Of course, it's the same as me lying to you. Moreover, the solitary sword-flying celestial art is even more powerful when combined with the Jade Rand sword. Jishu said, But what? Chu Hen asked. But besides sect leader Gong Yang, no one else in our sect has comprehended the solitary sword-flying celestial art. What? Chu Hen was stunned. This was the crux of the matter. The single sword-flying immortal technique was the most powerful martial arts technique of the Kunliu sect. It was not easy to comprehend this technique. Of course, what Jishu and the others meant was that Chu Hen did not have to learn the single sword-flying immortal technique. There were still many benefits to the mysterious realm of the Flying Immortal. Afternoon, on the vast plaza in front of the Flying Immortal Hall, a 6-pointed star had already risen. The platform was clearly layered, with the center being the highest and the surrounding layers decreasing in number. It looked like it was formed by stacking magnificent hexagonal stone platforms. At this moment, the Flying Celestial Hall Master, Qi Hanyu, and many high-ranking elders of the Flying Celestial Hall were on the stone platform. Below the stone platform in front of him, Chu Hen's eyes were calm, neither servile nor overbearing. Chu Hen, Elder Mu, who was standing behind Qi Hanyu, took a few steps forward and said in a dignified manner, Junior is here, Chu Hen replied, because you brought back our sect's keepsake on behalf of Sect Master Gong Yang. We will open the mysterious realm of the flying immortal today and allow you to comprehend it once as a token of gratitude. As soon as this was said, many of the disciples of Mount Kunliu around the plaza revealed a look of envy. To any disciple of Mount Kunliu, entering the mysterious realm of the flying immortal was a dream. Only those who had made great contributions to the sect were qualified to enjoy such a reward. Of course, everyone was very clear about the purpose of the high-ranking officials of the Flying Celestial Hall. Chu Hen's identity was special. After all, he was chosen by Gong Yangyu. There was no reason for the Flying Celestial Hall to mistreat him. Thank you, Flying Celestial Hall Master. Chu Hen first nodded slightly at Elder Mu, then cupped his fists at Chi Hanyu and the others to thank them. Elder Mu nodded and immediately turned to look at Chi Hanyu, who was behind him. The latter, who was emitting a dignified aura, lifted her cold eyes and said indifferently, "A ray." Yes. Along with a formless and powerful aura, a circle of air waves rippled in the air. The 5 high-ranking elders beside Chi Hanyu all spread out and landed at the 5 corners of the 6-pointed stone platform. The place where Chi Hanyu was standing was at the position of the upper corner. Buzz. The 5 elders with powerful auras all exploded with a powerful wave of true origin energy. Following that, the 5 of their hands quickly formed various strange hand seals, Flying Celestial Seal technique. With a loud shout in unison, the 5 of them faced one of their hands down at the same time and placed their palms on the ground. Boom! In the next moment, a powerful wave of chi swept out, and strange black lines extended out from their palms like vines. Mysterious runes that looked like ancient numbers instantly covered the entire stone platform. Then, the center of the stone platform quickly converged into a circular and complicated pattern. The center of the pattern released traces of obscure energy fluctuations. Then, a peculiar groove the size of a bowl slowly sunk into the platform. Zoom. Accompanied by a heavy metallic sound, Chi Hanyu, the palace master, waved her hand like a willow, and a dazzling silver disc appeared in her palm. The disc was dark gold in color and was covered with long and narrow spirit patterns. One look, and one could tell that it was not an ordinary item. Chi Hanyu's palm moved slightly, and with a shio sound, the disc shot out, leaving behind an illusory parabolic ray of light in the air. Then, it steadily fell into the groove in the center of the runes on the stone platform. Buzz! The mysterious disc was like a key fitting into the groove. In an instant, the entire stone platform suddenly bloomed with a dazzling and gorgeous light pattern. The complicated runes were immediately activated. Streaks of electric arcs of silver light spread and flowed along the spirit patterns on the surface of the platform. The resplendent flowing shadows caused the stone platform to shine brightly. This mysterious flying celestial realm was the most important and secret place of the Flying Celestial Palace. It could only be opened by using a special hand seal technique and the secret key. And the secret key was the strange disc that Chi Hanyu had just thrown out. Buzz! Buzz! The ground under everyone's feet was faintly shaking. The stone platform, made of hexagrams, was like a dazzling heaven-opening rune array. The crisscrossing runes were like the intersection of spirit vines. Immediately after, a dazzling light shrouded the entire stone platform. Under the countless shocked gazes of everyone present, an illusory tower emitting a majestic aura slowly rose from under the stone platform. The airflow between heaven and earth became abnormally chaotic. The clouds above the flying celestial peaks surged as if a storm was approaching. Rumble. In a few blinks of an eye, a giant tower that was hundreds of feet tall suddenly appeared on the stone platform. The giant tower was illusory and surrounded by a black light. The surrounding space was faintly distorted, looking like a scene from a dream. Although Chu Hen was already mentally prepared, he was still shocked by the shocking scene in front of him. The majestic illusory tower stood in the sky, causing the sky to lose its color. The spirit patterns below flickered like a god. Chu Hen couldn't help but feel moved, and his eyes were filled with anticipation. On the other hand, the disciples of Mount Kunlu were filled with envy. Their eyes were filled with passion. Is this the mysterious realm of the flying celestial? Chi Tung, who was at the side of the crowd, nodded approvingly. The mysterious realm is inside the tower, Jishu explained. I really envy Chu Hen, Hua Shui pouted, looking as if she was about to cry. At this moment, the master of the flying celestial temple, Chi Hanyu, said loudly, every time this mysterious realm opens, it consumes a lot of resources. I hope you can make good use of this opportunity. I know, Chu Hen replied solemnly. Moreover, Chi Hanyu's beautiful eyes lifted, but she looked at the crowd below and said, Qin Shi Shu Hua, the four of you have been running around outside for many years. To be able to bring back the sect master's token and sect master Gong Yang's order, your contributions cannot go unnoticed. Today, the four of you can enter the mysterious realm of the flying celestial together to comprehend. What? As soon as these words were spoken, the crowd immediately burst into an uproar. Hua Shui immediately widened her eyes, looking as if she didn't dare to believe it. We can also enter the mysterious realm? Happiness came too suddenly. Not only Hua Shui, but even Fu Qin, Ji Shu, and Nongqi were also pleasantly surprised. Chu Hen also turned around and looked at them with a smile. These years, the four of them had indeed contributed too much. Although they didn't succeed in bringing Gong Yang back, it could be considered as giving the entire sect of Kunliu an explanation. It would be inexcusable if they didn't give a reward. Chi Hanyu said indifferently, prepare to enter the mysterious realm. As for what kind of opportunity you can obtain inside, it will depend on your own luck. Yes, thank you, Master. Hua Shui and the others bowed to express their gratitude. Immediately, without any hesitation, Chu Hen soared into the sky and directly flew towards the mysterious realm tower in front of him. Buzz! Subsequently, the mysterious realm tower erupted with a dazzling golden light. Chu Hen didn't suspect anything and directly entered the golden light. Under the envious gazes of the crowd, he disappeared into thin air within the light screen. Chapter 636. Whoosh! An extremely dazzling light flashed in front of him, and Chu Hen entered the interior of the tower of the mysterious realm. Looking at the novel world that appeared in front of him, Chu Hen suddenly had a feeling of enlightenment. Vast, endless, the sky was a vast starry sky that stretched as far as the eye could see. Below was an abyssal canyon that stretched as far as the eye could see. There were mountains and rivers in front, and the scenery was picturesque. What was even more surprising was that there were many mountain ranges that floated between heaven and earth. The water flowed across the horizon like a dragon soaring into the nine heavens. And it was even more like the Milky Way piercing through the sky. This was like the legendary dreamland. Everything that appeared here had deviated from the laws of nature in the outside world. This mysterious realm of the flying celestial is really magical. Chu Hen muttered to himself. Immediately after, the layer of golden light screen behind Chu Hen slightly swayed for a moment. Immediately, 4 young figures flew out one after another. These 4 people were the 4 women that came with Chu Hen, Qin, Qi, Shu, and Hua. Wow, this is the mysterious realm of the flying celestial. It's so spectacular, it's like a painting. Hua Shui's voice that was filled with excitement was the first to spread out. The other 3 women's faces were also filled with pleasant surprise. You've come, Chu Hen said with a slight smile. Let's go. I can't wait to feel the power of the mysterious realm. Hua Shui patted Chu Hen's arm, and then she flew past him. Chu Hen shook his head and immediately headed forward with the 4 women. The mysterious realm of the flying celestial was unpredictable. Soon, everyone felt the myriad of miraculous things here. Everything in the surroundings was like a dream, real and fake. Everyone seemed to have passed through a space-time tunnel and arrived at a novel world after another. Huge rocks floated between heaven and earth, and the rocks were covered with deep, veined patterns, like meteorites in space. "What's ahead?" Gnome Chi asked in surprise. "Wow, it's a meteor shower," Hua Shui shouted. "What meteor shower? It's a crystal rain," Jishu corrected. Dazzling silver specks of light scattered in front of him. The specks of light were like countless fireflies flying between the heavens and the earth, decorating the resplendent sky. Chu Hen moved his palm, and a silver speck of light fell into his hand. Upon closer inspection, these specks of light were actually tiny fragments, like fragments of ice crystals, shining brightly. Buzz! In the next second, the speck of light disappeared from Chu Hen's hand. Following that, Chu Hen clearly felt a strand of strange power drilling into his body. It flowed into his 8 extraordinary meridians and fused into his Dantian's Qi Si. Huh? Chu Hen raised his eyebrows, feeling slightly surprised. This kind of crystal fragment has been specially processed. As long as it comes into contact with the human body, it will automatically be absorbed. There's no need to touch it, Fu Qin explained in a low voice. Chu Hen nodded. "I see. Don't bother with these things. There will be better ones later." After all, the 4 girls had grown up in Mount Kunliu. Although this was their first time coming to the flying, immortal, mysterious realm, they had heard about the situation here from others. They had a relatively good understanding of it. To the crystal stones of the outside world, the surrounding crystal stone rain was many times more magical. However, this was only at the outermost level of the flying, immortal, mysterious realm. After Chu Hen finished listening, he allowed the crystal stone rain to transform into strands of power and fuse with his body. He did not deliberately collect them. Not long after, a world flickering with silver light appeared in front of everyone's eyes. Floating in front of them was no longer a crystal stone rain, but pieces of crystal stones. They were crystal clear and dazzling like precious treasures. Chu Hen casually grabbed a crystal stone the size of a bowl into his palm. In an instant, a surge of pure power surged into Chu Hen's body like a tide. Compared to the speck of light just now, the energy contained in this crystal stone could be said to be extremely different. The crystal stone in Chu Hen's hand shrunk at a speed visible to the naked eye, like melting ice. In about 10 seconds, it disappeared completely. Chu Hen only felt a warm source flowing in his body. Every inch of the meridians in his body was absorbing this pure power. "How do you feel? Is it much better than absorbing normal crystal stones?" Jishu raised her beautiful eyes and asked softly. "Yes." Chu Hen nodded affirmatively. "It's very comfortable, and there are no impurities at all." The further they went, the larger the size of the crystal stones they saw. They could even see a myriad of luxurious and resplendent crystal pillars. All kinds of crystal pillars were like sculptures, giving people a completely new visual enjoyment. "Can these crystal stones be brought out?" Chu Hen suddenly asked. The 4 of them were stunned and looked at each other in surprise. "Of course not. Why are you so greedy?" Hua Shui scolded. "Hua Shui." Jishu stopped her and then asked, "You want to bring some for Qi Tong and Lu Qi, right?" Hearing this, Hua Shui was immediately stunned. Chu Hen smiled, indicating that he acquiesced in it. "Oh, I see. I've wronged you." Hua Shui stuck her tongue out in embarrassment before she continued. "The crystals here aren't real. They're products that have been processed by a special method. They can only be absorbed here. Once they leave the mysterious realm, they'll turn into nothingness. Moreover, there's nothing to store them." "I see." Chu Hen showed a little regret. "But it doesn't matter." Hua Shui patted her chest confidently and said, "When I get out of here, I can at least reach the level of 6 spiritual tattooist. At that time, I will refine a 7-heart heavenly yuan pill for each of them, and I guarantee that their cultivation will improve quickly." Chu Hen nodded slightly. "That's great." About an hour later, the crystal pillars in front of them became more and more magnificent and magnificent. Even the shortest crystal pillar was nearly 100 meters tall. The luxurious and dazzling crystal pillars were suspended around them, emitting an especially strong aura. Subsequently, There was a crystal pillar that was flashing with mysterious and complicated rune-secret inscriptions. These rune-secret inscriptions intertwined and transformed into various exquisite patterns of different postures. Some patterns were of a fist, some were of a palm print, and some were of a ferocious beast. At the same time, including Chu Hin, everyone's speed began to slow down. However, this slowness did not originate from their actions, but from the pressure released by this mysterious realm. We can already feel the pressure in the mysterious realm. Next, let's move on our own, she said softly while playing the zither. Everyone nodded. After all, in the mysterious realm of the flying celestial, everyone had their own opportunities and opportunities. If they gathered together, it would be difficult to choose because of the difference in opinions. Chu Hin, the crystal pillars on top of them, are all special bodies that can lead to the next profound realm. What you can comprehend over there is completely dependent on your own opportunity and talent, as well as a considerable amount of luck. We want to accompany you. We'll meet again after we get out of here, she warned with a serious tone. Once upon a time, her attitude towards Chu Hin was especially cold. Even at the best of times, she was lukewarm. She didn't know when, but her attitude had gradually changed. Chapter 637. We'll meet again after we get out. After some simple instructions, Chu Hin, Qin, Qi Shu, and Hua all moved and flew in 5 different directions. They immediately spread out and headed towards the deeper regions of the mysterious realm. Everyone's luck and fortune were different, and the opportunities they encountered would also be different. Moreover, they wouldn't encounter any danger in the mysterious realm of the flying immortal, so there was no need for the 5 of them to gather together. The deeper they went into the mysterious realm, the greater the invisible pressure Chu Hin felt. Crystal pillars that were like ice sculptures emitted a luxurious and majestic aura. The strange structure could be said to be the work of the gods, and it was especially gorgeous. It looked like an iceberg that was suspended between heaven and earth. At a glance, there would be a crystal pillar that was engraved with mysterious talisman patterns every 10 or so crystal pillars. Previously, Fuqin had already explained in detail that these crystal pillars that were engraved with talisman patterns were special objects that could be passed through to the next mysterious realm. Immediately, Chu Hin's figure moved and flashed to the front of a crystal pillar. The crystal pillar that was nearly 200 meters tall was dazzling. The crystal pillar was engraved with complicated and exquisite patterns. Chu Hin stretched out his right hand and placed his palm on the surface of the crystal pillar. Buzz, buzz. In the next moment, along with a strange energy fluctuation, the mysterious talisman patterns on the crystal pillar shone brightly. Immediately after, Chu Hin's pupils shrank slightly. He only felt a huge force pulling him into another space. This is? An open-minded scene instantly appeared in Chu Hin's line of sight. In front of him, the mountains rose and fell, and the rivers meandered endlessly. Chu Hin was in the void, as if he had come from the mysterious realm of the flying immortal to a vast forest. Rumble. Immediately after, a majestic and monstrous force emerged between the heaven and earth. In the sky above the 9 heavens, the dark tide surged. Along with the vast and mighty sound of rolling thunder, a huge hand parted the clouds and stretched down from the void. It was like the hand of God, bombarding a huge mountain in front of him. Boom! In a split second, the towering mountain range in front of Chu Hin was directly flattened. The rocks that were recklessly blown up were scattered everywhere. The endless lush forest was directly crushed in a fine powder. What astonishing destructive power! Seeing the scene before him, Chu Hin was shocked. The power of that palm just now had far surpassed the killing power of the 3rd level of the 7-star scripture, the Alioth palm. The martial skills contained in the flying immortal mysterious realm are indeed not ordinary. Although he was amazed, it was not enough to tempt Chu Hin. Almost without any hesitation, Chu Hin immediately withdrew from the profound realm with a thought. Wah! With a burst of dazzling light, Chu Hin returned to the side of the crystal pillar. Although this martial skill is powerful, it is not what I expected. Chu Hin shook his head. and then once again flew towards the deeper region of the mysterious realm. About half an hour later, the resistance released by the mysterious realm made Chu Hen feel a greater pressure. The further he went, the stronger the pressure. Soon after, Chu Hen once again entered a crystal pillar that was suffused with faint yellow light patterns. Hua! This time, what appeared in front of Chu Hen was a yellow world. Dust filled the sky, and sand whistled wildly. At a glance, as far as the eye could see, there was only an endless desert. Chu Hen floated in the air. His eyes were lightly closed, and he quietly sensed every single minute movement of space within the profound realm. After about the time to drink a cup of tea, Chu Hen suddenly opened his eyes. In an instant, a raging force rose between the heaven and earth. Boom! The shocking sand swept across the sky, setting off a huge sandstorm that stirred up the wind and clouds. Under the envelopment of the endless sandstorm, countless grains of sand gathered together, piled up, and instantly formed a giant that was 1,000 meters tall. This giant was completely made of sand, and the defense of its entire body was impregnable. The terrifying aura was like that of a furious, fierce beast. Secret technique of forming sand. Chu Hen's eyes slightly narrowed, and he muttered to himself. Compared to the mysterious realm that he had entered before, this secret technique of forming sand was obviously much more profound. The defense and attack of sand were very strong. If he learned this secret technique of forming sand, it was equivalent to having an extra helper in the process of fighting against the enemy. Moreover, this giant's aura was sufficient, especially in a large-scale group battle. It could display a very strong destructive power. This secret technique is very suitable for Qi Tang to cultivate. After he finished speaking, Chu Hen left the place and returned to the flying, immortal, mysterious realm. If he had no other choice, Chu Hen would still be quite interested in this secret technique. However, it was rare for him to come to the flying, immortal, mysterious realm, so he naturally had to choose the best, or the most suitable thing for him. Being in the mysterious realm, Chu Hen felt as if he was in a vast sea of stars. The surrounding tens of thousands of crystal pillars were like the bright stars in the Milky Way, giving off a feeling of being a drop in the ocean. Rather than searching one by one like this, I might as well try to reach my own limit and see what I can encounter in the end. After a short period of thinking, Chu Hen made such a decision in his heart. The deeper he went into the mysterious realm, the greater the pressure he released. If he reached his limit, until the last second when he could not withstand the pressure, what could he encounter? A resolute look flashed in Chu Hen's eyes. His figure moved, and like a shooting star, he shot out explosively. The magnificent crystal pillars were left far behind on both sides of Chu Hen. Chu Hen was like an aurora shuttling through the vast starry sky. Chu Hen continued to move forward, and the pressure exerted on his body by the mysterious realm continued to increase. As time passed, Chu Hen's movement speed clearly slowed down. At the beginning, he could leap a few miles, but later on, he was as slow as an old man. The formless pressure accumulated more and more. Chu Hen felt as if he was carrying a huge mountain on his back as he moved forward. At the same time, the scene that Chu Hen saw also changed quite a bit. In the illusory heaven and earth, the number of special crystal pillars had obviously decreased by a lot. It was very difficult to see a crystal pillar with secret runes drawn on it. The ones floating in the surrounding area were all ordinary crystal pillars, and they looked very ordinary. And, in the end, even ordinary crystal pillars could not be seen. In the vast and endless void, Chu Hen bent his body and bent his knees. His slightly thin figure looked extremely frail. Too tired, every part of his body seemed to be filled with lead, and every step he took was extremely strenuous. Even so, Chu Hen's pitch-black eyes still revealed a sense of determination. He had not reached his limit. As long as he could still stand up, he would not look back. Outside the mysterious realm, on the square of the flying immortal peak, on the hexagonal stone platform, spirit patterns flickered, dazzling, and a huge tower that was more than 300 meters tall emitted an illusory and misty light. Like a dream, the distorted space made this tower of the mysterious realm look especially mysterious. It has already been 4 hours, and there is still no movement. This is very normal. It means that they have not found what they need or are still in the process of comprehending. It really makes people envious. I have been in the Kunliu sect for more than 10 years, and I have not entered the flying, immortal, mysterious realm. That guy is not from the Kunliu mountain, nor has he made any great contributions, but he can actually cultivate in the mysterious realm once. Comparing people to people is really infuriating. He is happy now, but think about it. What if he can't get back the heaven and earth black-yellow order? What would be the result? I don't think I need to say more. The Kunliu Mountain's disciples around the square were whispering to each other. There were those who envied Chu Hen and the others, and there were also those who rejoiced in Chu Hen's future fate. It would not be easy to defeat Nangong Xian and Lung Lingyan. After all, in the hearts of the people of Kunliu Mountain, the successor of a new sect leader could only be one of them. Chu Hen almost had no chance at all. If Chu Hen could not become the sect leader, just the fact that he had broken the weapon master's contract with a blue Ran sword was enough to cause a huge injury to Chu Hen. All of you, stay here and inform me if there is anything. The master of the flying immortal palace, Chi Hanyu, raised her eyes and said indifferently, "Yes." Elder Mu and the other high-ranking elders nodded in unison. Under the respectful gaze of the crowd, Chi Hanyu left first. Below the square, Chi Tong crossed his arms in front of him. His tall and sturdy body was like a bear as he asked the handsome young man next to him in a deep voice, "Little wooden fish, how long will it take for them to come out?" Lu Chi, who was standing at the side, also looked at Chi Tong curiously. Xiao Miyu pondered for a moment before he answered, "The shortest time is 4 hours, and the longest is 7 days. Oh, that's a long time?" "Yes. Since everyone's choices and talent are different, there will be a difference in time. Naturally, it doesn't mean that the longer you stay, the more you'll gain. Based on what I've seen, there were 3 powerful senior brothers who wasted their chances." "Did I just waste a chance?" Chi Tong and Lu Chi were stunned. "What do you mean?" Lu Chi asked. "Because they all wanted the best, they turned a blind eye to the other martial arts and secret techniques. In the end, 2 of them didn't make it to their destination and died on the way. Although one of them managed to make it there, he failed to comprehend the martial tactic." Xiao Miyu said. Their curiosity was piqued. Chi Tong asked in a deep voice, "What kind of martial tactic is it?" "The strongest technique of the Kunliu sect, the one-sword flying immortal technique, in a mysterious realm. In the vast and ethereal world, Chu Hen's figure was as thin as a butterfly in the wind. His knees were almost touching the ground, and endless fatigue and exhaustion enveloped his body like a tide. He couldn't hold on any longer. Chu Hen tightly clenched his teeth. Every single step he took was abnormally difficult. Buzz! Suddenly, a bright and beautiful radiance suddenly flashed past the corner of Chu Hen's eyes. Chu Hen's pupils shrank. In an instant, his entire pair of eyes reflected a beautiful and resplendent splendor. This is about 100 meters in front of him. There was a giant crystal pillar with a majestic aura. This crystal pillar was 1,000 meters tall, and it looked like a giant sword piercing into the bottom of a giant mountain. Chapter 638. Looking at the giant crystal pillar in front of him that looked like a divine sword in the stone, Chu Hen seemed to see a glimmer of hope in the endless darkness. The crystal pillar was thousands of meters tall and looked like a divine sword that was pierced into the bottom of a giant mountain. The majestic might that soared into the sky was enough to seize the power of heaven and earth. It shook the misty sky and attacked Chu Hen's optic nerves. That's it. Almost in an instant, Chu Hen determined that the crystal pillar in front of him was what he was looking for. Immediately, Chu Hen clenched his teeth and used all his strength to walk towards the crystal pillar. Step by step, it was extremely difficult. His whole body seemed to be pulling on the cable tied to the giant ship. However, the look in Chu Hen's eyes became more and more determined. This short distance of less than 100 meters could usually be crossed with just a thought, but now it seemed especially long for Chu Hen. Step by step, the distance between the two was slowly shrinking. This section of the road, Chu Hen walked for a long time. The moment he reached out and touched the crystal pillar, a cold feeling came from his fingertips. Chu Hen seemed to have removed all the shackles, and an unprecedented feeling of emptiness replaced the previous heaviness. Chu Hen took a deep breath, and a relaxed smile appeared on his face. "It's you." Although Chu Hen didn't know what kind of power this crystal pillar contained, he had already chosen the other party. Immediately, a gentle force was released from his palm and began to communicate with the crystal pillar. Buzz! In the next moment, the giant crystal pillar blossomed with a brilliant light, especially the mysterious spirit patterns on it. Like an activated light vine, the silver light flickered and flowed, dazzling. Immediately after, a surging wave of brilliance burst out from within, sweeping towards Chu Hen. A strong traction pulled Chu Hen into another mysterious realm. Chu Hen did not show any signs of rejection and directly entered. Hua! Immediately, after a dazzling light flashed in front of him, Chu Hen instantly came to a new world, the wilderness. The mountain range was majestic, and the ravine was difficult to fill. Reflected in Chu Hen's eyes was a vast land with high mountains. In the distance, the mountains rose and fell like a dragon crawling on the ground. The long river was like a snake, a flat plain that ran through the east and west. Under Chu Hen's feet was a huge rock protruding from the edge of the cliff. The momentum of the boulder was like the head of a giant eagle. Chu Hen stood at the top of the cliff, as if he was standing on the head of a heavenly eagle, overlooking the mountains and rivers, looking down at how small the mountains were. Force! This was Chu Hen's first thought upon arriving here. Within this profound realm, every inch of land, every river, every mountain, and even the strong winds that surged in the air, all of them revealed an extremely powerful aura. His aura was especially majestic, and it was as sharp as a sword. At this moment, Chu Hen once again confirmed that this was the place he had been looking forward to. Outside the profound realm, flying Immortal Peak Plaza, the tower of the profound realm stood between heaven and earth like a god, emitting a mysterious aura. A few high-level elders who were controlling the operation of the profound realm sat cross-legged at each corner of the six-pointed stone platform. Their expressions were calm, and they were all meditating with their eyes closed at this moment. The crowd in the square had already changed batch after batch. Many people came and went, and then came again, other than the disciples of the Flying Immortal Palace. People from the Demon-Slaying Palace and the Void Palace also came to join in the fun. It's already been 3 days, right? That's right. Not a single person came out. It should be like this. What are the 5 of them doing inside? Why do you care about what they do? What if they all have difficulty choosing? What I want to say is, in a few days, the Heaven and Earth Black Yellow Order will be released. Our Demon-Slaying Palace and the Void Palace have already started preparing. Your Flying Immortal Palace still lacks a leader. Why not follow us? You don't have to waste time on an outsider. The ridicule from the disciples of the Demon-Slaying Palace and the Void Palace made the disciples of the Flying Immortal Palace silent. Indeed, in less than 5 days, the Heaven and Earth Black Yellow Order would be released. At that time, the entire victorious East Province and even the Eastern Domain would be in a huge turmoil. At that time, no one dared to predict how chaotic the victorious East Province would be. As for whether Chu Hen could replace the Flying Immortal Palace and obtain the Heaven and Earth Black Yellow Order, no one had any confidence. Perhaps the reason why the Flying Immortal Palace Lord did this was to give Gong Yangyu an explanation. She used all her strength to protect Gong Yangyu's choice and gave Chu Hen the greatest support. Then what was the outcome? Chi Hanyu no longer had too much luxury. There's still no movement? Lu Qi, who had just returned from outside, walked to the side of Qi Tong and Xiao Muyu. Qi Tong shook his head. Not yet. Buzz. But at this moment, there was a strange rhythm between heaven and earth. Everyone's hearts lit up, and their gazes all swept towards the tower of the profound realm. The illusory and ethereal giant tower released a strong golden light. On the body of the tower, spiritual inscriptions were shining, and there were many runes and secret scrolls flowing on it. The bright light illuminated the huge square, setting off the fiery faces of everyone present. Subsequently, four young and beautiful figures flashed out from the dense holy radiance, and they formed a scene that attracted the attention of everyone. It's junior sister Fu Qin and the others. It's really the sisters' heart bond. They actually appeared so neatly. The appearance of the four women, Qin, Qi, Shu, and Hua, caused quite a commotion in the flying immortal peak. Although it had only been a few days since they last saw each other, everyone present could clearly feel that the aura emitted by the four women had changed a lot. Their cultivation base has all improved a lot. Yes, there's nothing strange about this. Cultivating in this profound realm for a few days is equivalent to cultivating outside for a few years. This situation is very normal. Under many envious gazes, the four women landed on the ground one after another like spiritual butterflies that were untainted by the mortal world. Compared with before, they were like lotus flowers out of the water, showing their unearthly aura. Senior sister apprentices, congratulations on your cultivation base. Xiao Muyu came forward to congratulate them with joy. Qi Teng and Lu Qi also followed one after another, feeling happy for them. I suddenly became a 7th grade spiritual tattooist. Hua Shui jumped up and down excitedly. This was one level higher than the 6th grade spiritual tattooist she expected. The other 3 women also gained a lot. Jishu also reached the 7th grade spiritual tattooist realm, and Nongqi entered the 7th rank of void-breaking realm. Fu Qin was even better than them, reaching the 8th rank of void-breaking realm. Finally, she was not weaker than others. In addition to being happy, the 4 women's hearts were also filled with a lot of emotions. Actually, with their talents, if they had stayed on Mount Kunliu to cultivate, they wouldn't be any worse off than they were now. During the years of searching for Gong Yangyu, they wandered around without a fixed residence. Not to mention having time to cultivate, they didn't even have time to have a good rest. Now, for them, it was equivalent to returning the years they had lost to them. This was a great comfort to him. Chapter 639. What about Chu Hen? Has he come out yet? Hua Shui asked. Her bright eyes were in high spirits. Qi Tong shook his head and said, Not yet. He should be out soon. Jishu said. However, after 2 hours had passed, the energy waves emitted by the tower of the mysterious realm gradually calmed down. The faintly distorted tower was like an image formed by refraction of water, illusory and mysterious. What was going on? Everyone in the square was somewhat confused. Generally speaking, people stayed in mysterious realm for about 3 or 4 days, and there were some who stayed for more than 5 days. But people outside the mysterious realm could judge the state of the people inside, according to the changes in the tower of the mysterious realm. At this moment, the tower of the mysterious realm was very calm, which also meant that Chu Hen's state was relatively comfortable. At least in a short period of time, there was no sign of him leaving the tower. Don't tell me that Chu Hen really went to look for the one-sword flying immortal technique ? Hua Shui's soft cry immediately attracted the attention of many people around. Fu Qin, Ji Shu, and Nongqi looked at each other and saw the astonishment in each other's eyes. Qi Teng and Lu Qi also looked at each other. The former asked, He knows about the one-sword flying immortal technique ? After all, the two of them had only heard about it from Xiao Muyu. Jishu nodded. Yes, we told him before. Qi Teng laughed involuntarily, spread his hands, and shook his head with a smile. With his personality, he will most likely challenge the limit of the highest difficulty. The speaker had no intention, but the listener had other intentions. Upon hearing the 5 words, one sword flying immortal technique, a large portion of the surrounding people revealed a look of contempt at the same time. Let's go. No need to wait any longer. Looks like there will be another idiot wasting such a good opportunity. Demon Slayer Hall and Void Hall can go back and pack up and prepare to leave. Flying Immortal Hall should stay here and look after the place. Ha ha ha, that's right. It could be seen that everyone was especially disdainful of the possibility of Chu Hen choosing the one-sword flying immortal technique. The reason was simple. The failure rate was abnormally high. Since ancient times, there had been countless people with extremely high talent in the flying immortal hall who had tried to obtain this martial art. However, they either fell on the way to the profound realm or were unable to pry into the profound mysteries within in the entire Kunlyu sect. There was only one Gong Yangyu. This was an indisputable fact. If I had known this would happen, I wouldn't have told him about the single sword flying immortal technique. This guy really likes to put on a brave front, Hua Shui said with a little regret. That day, when they told Chu Hen those things, it was only to let him have a rough understanding of the flying immortal mysterious realm, and they did not think too much about it. But he didn't expect her to be so serious. Chi Tung smiled and said, "Let's wait and see. Maybe we guessed wrong." Everyone nodded. After all, no one knew what was going on inside. Instead of making guesses, it was better to wait and see patiently. The mysterious realm of the fairy realm. At the top of the precipitous hanging cliff, a huge rock hanging on the edge of the cliff was like a heavenly eagle looking out into the void. Chu Hen stood on the huge rock like a king overlooking the world. He stood proudly at the top of the peaks and looked down at the magnificent mountains and rivers. Chu Hen placed his hands behind his back and closed his eyes. He breathed in and out. His chi was like gossamer. He released his divine sense and used his heart to feel the rhythm of every trace of energy aura between heaven and earth. Chu Hen's divine sense seemed to wander outside, leaving only a body. It was as still as a rock and looked like a statue. Time passed minute by minute, second by second. There was still no change in this part of heaven and earth. Even the momentum that he had sensed previously had become erratic and difficult to capture. Whoosh! At this moment, a leaf floated over from somewhere. The jade-like leaf had a bit of dry yellow in the middle, but it looked so ordinary. The leaves were like tired butterflies, slowly falling to the ground. However, just as he was about to land on the ground, a sharp aura suddenly rose in the air. Swoosh! An illusory sword aura shot out of nowhere, shattering the leaf into pieces. Buzz! Almost at the same time, Chu Hen suddenly opened his eyes, and a huge aura burst out from his body. In an instant, the spiritual energy fluctuation between heaven and earth became extremely restless. A powerful aura swept out from Chu Hen's body and quickly spread out in all directions. Buzz! Along with the trembling space, the stones, grass, branches, water, and dust on the ground actually broke free from gravity and slowly rose into the sky. The chaotic airflow whistled in all directions, and the clouds in the sky surged restlessly. Then, Chu Hen stretched out one hand and emitted a momentum that controlled heaven and earth. Boom! In the next second, the various miscellaneous objects that were floating in the air suddenly shot up into the sky. As they moved, stones, water droplets, branches, and even dust, all of them emitted a dazzling light. The light flickered like flowing shadows and formed a sword aura blade at extremely fast speed. Heaven and earth seemed to be under Chu Hen's control, and everything could be transformed into sword aura. In an instant, the sky was filled with illusory sword aura surrounding the area around Chu Hen, like a tornado stirring up the sky. Rumble. 3,000 lightning strikes, hurricane whistling. Tens of thousands of sword auras rapidly revolved around Chu Hen, and the scene was magnificent. Controlling the tens of thousands of swords, seizing the power of heaven and earth, and slashing the sky. However, this momentum was so huge that it was difficult for Chu Hen to control. The fierce flying shadows and flowing lights swam around him. Caught off guard, an uncontrollable sword aura swept past Chu Hen's left side, directly cutting a long and narrow wound on his left shoulder. Chu Hen couldn't help but let out a hiss. The sharp pain was exceptionally clear, causing Chu Hen to let out a hissing sound. Immediately after, another 2 rays of sword chi swept past. unable to dodge in time. Chu-Hen's chest and back successively had 2 more bloody marks. Chu-Hen frowned, and his eyes revealed a strong sense of caution. The primordial core in his body rotated rapidly, and the powerful true inner force was released. Thousands of strands of light shot out like gossamer threads, and the seemingly solid sword auras were used to stabilize this chaotic and majestic situation. Even so, there were still uncontrollable sword auras that tore Chu-Hen's skin and flesh. The rapid and sharp wind was unusually ear-piercing. In the blink of an eye, Chu-Hen was already drenched in blood, and many of his wounds were so clear that his bones could be seen. The intense pain made his legs faintly tremble. At this moment, Chu-Hen finally understood why this single sword-flying immortal technique was so difficult to master. Apart from the intrinsic difficulty of cultivating this martial art, it was also extremely difficult to persist in the process of cultivating the technique. The slightest carelessness would cause one to be smashed to pieces by the sword auras that were flying wantonly. Soon, Chu-Hen was covered in blood, and there were countless wounds all over his body. Give up? A sonorous voice rang out in his mind. However, Chu-Hen's eyes turned cold, and he shouted sternly, "How can I give up?" Boom! Suddenly, along with a monstrous force that resembled a tsunami, Chu-Hen raised his arms high, and the peerless power of the heaven's palms swept out. Chu-Hen forcefully endured the endless pain in his body. He commanded the 10,000 sword images to fly straight up, straight into the 9 heavens. The world lost its color, and the heavens darkened. Countless sword auras formed from grass, trees, sand, and stones stirred the heavens, moving rapidly in the same direction, and converging to form a river of swords that traversed the sky. The river of swords pierced the sky, and its momentum was like a bright galaxy in the vast night sky. Endless destructive energy filled the world, and the violent wind could topple mountains and overturn the seas. Slash! Chu-Hen shouted, and his voice was like a clap of thunder. In an instant, the river of swords that was formed from the convergence of countless sword auras shot up into the sky, and with the momentum of a wild dragon, it swept up endless terrifying momentum and attacked a vast mountain range in front of him. Boom! Bang! The mountains collapsed, the earth cracked, and the rivers were flattened. The super-strong impact was like a giant dragon swooping down, and it penetrated the huge mountain range. The irresistible shockwave crushed the rocks and forests along the way. Smoke and dust soared into the sky, and rocks flew everywhere. A huge natural chasm that traversed the east and the west appeared between heaven and earth. The incomparably huge natural chasm was like a deep gorge, and there was no grass or trees. The river was filled up, and the waterfall flowed backward. Everything in it had been turned into ruins. Outside the mysterious realm, on the flying immortal peak, rumble, rumble, rumble. Without any warning, the rolling wind and thunder swept across the entire sky above the giant peak. Everyone on the flying immortal peak in Mount Kunliu looked in the direction of the mysterious realm tower with a bewildered expression. Thunder roared from the 9th heaven, and strong winds swept up the clouds. The sky above the mysterious realm tower unexpectedly condensed endless golden holy light, and this holy light pierced through the clouds and the sun, fusing and converging together. Under the eyes of everyone filled with disbelief, it turned into a giant sword that stood under the blue dome of heaven. The giant sword's blade pointed down, and the hilt entered the whirlpool of clouds, like the might of the heavens. That is, looking at the sword shadow in the sky above the mysterious realm tower, the entire Mount Kunliu was alarmed. Everyone's eyes were wide open, and they were all extremely shocked. This was a scene that had happened decades ago. Elder Mu, who was on the 6-pointed star platform, couldn't help but stand up. His brows were tightly knitted, and his throat gently moved as he spat out a few words in a clear and heavy tone. Chapter 640. The Single Sword Flying Celestial Technique. What? My goodness! How's this possible? Whirlpools of clouds rolled in the sky above the flying celestial peak. The entire Mount Kunliu was in an uproar as they stared at the gigantic sword silhouette hovering in the sky. Everyone's eyes were wide open, and their faces were filled with disbelief. This was the first time the younger generation in the Kunliu sect had witnessed such a scene. Their hearts were filled with doubt and shock. On the other hand, many of the more experienced and senior elders were extremely shocked, and they were extremely astonished. He remembered that such a scene had occurred a few tens of years ago. At that time, the person who caused such a commotion was called Gong Yangyu. Boom! Suddenly, a deafening explosion reverberated in the sky. In an instant, the enormous sword that stood in the sky exploded like fireworks. Countless bright sword glows fell like a rain of swords. They penetrated the thick clouds in all directions and flew wantonly in the sky. An unparalleled, majestic sword aura shrouded the sky above the flying celestial peak. 10,000 swords shocking the heavens. Single sword flying celestial. Roar! In the crisis-ridden back mountain area, a high-grade beast king with a huge body covered in iron armor was forcefully torn into two halves by someone, accompanied by a shrill scream. Fresh blood and internal organs splattered in the air. A burly young figure hovered proudly in the air like a demon-slaying god of war. A powerful battle aura shrouded the other party as dark red light swirled around his arms. He did not look at the Beast King's corpse as he stared coldly at the huge change in the sky above the flying celestial peak. The single sword flying celestial technique. Oomph. The flying celestial palace finally has a decent person. A sinister smile appeared on the man's face. A sinister sneer appeared on the man's face, and then his eyes turned cold. A raging wind stacked up, and a mad demon seemed to have awakened in his body. A dark red light lingered up and down, and he clenched his right fist. An invisible killing intent caused the surrounding space to faintly distort a bit. On the other side of the mountain, on the pure and clear surface of the lake, an elegant and refined figure, like a lotus flower emerging from the water, quietly stepped on the surface of the lake, floating in the water. Her beautiful eyes, which were like limpid autumn waters, stared at the flying immortal peak with surprise. She lightly pursed her red lips and muttered to herself, "It's actually the solitary sword flying art. Is it the person chosen by Gong Yangyu? I really want to see it." Mount Kunliu was completely shaken by this. The Hall Master of the Demon Slayer Hall, Wen Liang, and the Hall Master of the Void Hall, Xie Wuhe, were also alarmed. The two Hall Masters stood at the peak of the precipice and looked ahead with complicated expressions. On the viewing platform of another giant peak, Qi Hanyu, the master of the Flying Fairy Temple, seemed to be in deep thought. Her eyes were filled with emotions and emotions. Once upon a time, when Gong Yangyu comprehended the single sword flying immortal technique, the entire Mount Kunliu was in an uproar. At this moment, it was as if the scene from back then had reappeared in the world. All the senior experts of Mount Kunliu felt a sense of déjà vu. Perhaps I should believe in you. Just like before. Qi Hanyu's voice was as soft as a mosquito's buzz as she muttered to herself. Inside the profound realm, sand and rocks swirled in the air, and waves of energy surged into the sky. The remnant sword aura seemed to be telling the story of how terrifying that sword strike was. Mountains and rivers split apart, and waterfalls flowed in reverse. A huge ravine that traversed the east and west appeared in front of Chuhan. That sword strike was like a dragon breaking through the sea. Everything in its path was reduced to ruins. Rumble. Soon after, the world spun, and the mountain swayed. The mountain range beneath Chuhan's feet rapidly cracked open, and countless deep cracks spread across the mountain walls. Soon after, a huge crystal pillar with a majestic aura rose into the air like an iceberg. Chuhan, who was covered in blood, landed on the crystal pillar in a flash. All the meridians in his body opened up, and a wave of pure spiritual energy surged into Chuhan's body. A vast amount of crystal source energy flowed into his 8 extraordinary meridians, and he felt as if he was enveloped in a hot spring. The rich spiritual energy contained almost no impurities, and it was directly absorbed and refined by Chu Hen. What was even more astonishing was that the wounds on Chu Hen's body instantly stopped bleeding, and they quickly healed at a speed visible to the naked eye. Not only were these specially processed crystals extremely pure, but they also possessed an extremely remarkable healing ability. Immediately, Chu Hen sat down and wantonly absorbed the energy within the crystal pillar. Time flew by quickly. The wounds on Chu Hen's body had basically all healed, and even some of the wounds that were so deep that his bones could be seen had only shallow traces left. A huge amount of crystal source energy continuously filled Chu Hen's sea of qi in his dantian. Suddenly, along with a powerful aura fluctuation, the origin core in his sea of qi shone brilliantly, and a new crack appeared on the origin core. The 8th level of the void-piercing realm. Buzz. Chu Hen's aura rapidly skyrocketed and became stronger, and the huge crystal pillar beneath him, which was comparable to an iceberg, burst out with a dozen or so dazzling energy light beams. The peerless energy light beams rapidly revolved around Chu Hen like a spectacular horse lantern. Chu Hen didn't refuse this huge amount of energy, and he completely absorbed it for his own use. After an unknown amount of time, Chu Hen's aura once again broke through the limit. It was accompanied by a powerful airflow that recklessly pervaded the air. The vast, true essence spiritual energy was like an erupting volcano. Kacha! The 9th strange crack quietly appeared on the origin core. Flying Immortal Peak. Compared to a few days ago, the atmosphere at Mount Kunliu was clearly much quieter. 9 days. Chu Hen had already been in the Tower of Mysterious Realms for a total of 9 days, which was 2 days longer than the previous record of 7 days. Buzz! At this time, the Tower of Mysterious Realms, which had been silent for several days, suddenly released a burst of gorgeous light. Qin, Qi, Shu, Hua, Qi Teng, Lu Qi, and the others who were guarding outside were suddenly startled. They took a few steps forward and solemnly stared at the giant tower. Whoosh! A rapid, wind-breaking momentum swept through, and then a familiar figure suddenly flashed out of the light curtain, appearing in front of everyone's eyes. "I'm out." The sound was like thunder, shaking all directions. The eyes of everyone present were completely lit up, followed by a burst of loud cheers. "I'm finally out." Elder Mu and the other elders guarding the Mysterious Realm Pagoda heaved a sigh of relief. They had been staying here for 9 days without rest, and it could be said that they were exhausted. This brat really knows how to torment people. Finally, I can remove the Mysterious Realms. Phew! Chu Hen steadily landed on the ground, and a burst of air lifted up the dust and gravel. A transcendent and powerful aura leaked out from between his eyebrows, causing people's hearts to tremble slightly. "You're finally willing to come out." Hua Shui hurriedly greeted and scolded. Fu Qin, Qi Teng, and Ji Shu followed closely behind. "Big brother Chu Hen, have you comprehended the one-sword flying immortal technique? Xiaomi you couldn't help but ask. Although everyone already knew, they still wanted to confirm it with Chu Hen. Their eyes were filled with anticipation. Chu Hen smiled slightly. "It should be." Hua! The whole square suddenly burst into an uproar. Besides the shock, the eyes that looked at Chu Hen revealed a lot of envy and praise that had never been seen before. There were even many people who showed a look of worship. "Your cultivation has also improved a lot." The one who spoke was Fu Qin. Although she had reached the 8th rank of the void-piercing realm, she still couldn't see through Chu Hen. There was a huge feeling of disparity between them. It was conceivable that the other party's realm was definitely above the 9th rank. Chu Hen smiled. In fact, not only his martial arts cultivation, but also his spiritual power had been greatly improved. He had leaped to the 6th rank of spiritual tattooist. Of course, Chu Hen had refined the street tree of Zhendanxian, who was a 4th rank spiritual tattooist. The power of the street tree itself was not weak. It was not impossible to reach the level of a sixth-rank spiritual tattooist. The mysterious realm of flying immortal is really amazing. Chuhen exclaimed sincerely. That's for sure. It's the most secret place of our Mount Kunliu. Countless people dream of cultivating in it. Hua Shui said with a little pride, but generally, one can only cultivate in it once. After that, the effect is very poor. It's normal, because after the first time, the various functions of our bodies have become familiar with the power in the mysterious realm. After that, the various senses are not as sensitive as before. Jishu explained. Chu Hen nodded his head as he suddenly understood. Of course, even if one could only cultivate in the mysterious realm once, it was enough. At this moment, Elder Mu walked towards the crowd. Chapter 641. Flying Celestial Hall. Under Elder Mu's lead, Chu Hen, Qin, Qi, Shu, Hua, Qi Teng, and Lu Qi entered the Flying Celestial Hall. Hall Master. Elder Mu bowed respectfully to Qi Hanyu, who was seated above the main hall. Following that, Chu Hen and the rest also paid their respects. Qi Hanyu stood up and stood in the hall. Her cold eyes exuded a dignified aura. Her gaze lingered on Chu Hen for a while before she said loudly, "Tomorrow is the day the Heaven and Earth Mystic Yellow Order will be released. Are all of you prepared?" Chu Hen's eyes turned cold as he replied solemnly, "I'm prepared." On the way here, Chu Hen had already told Hua Shui and the others about this matter. The Heaven and Earth Black Yellow Order was about to be released. Nangong Hao, the demon-slaying palace, and Lung Lingyan of the Void Palace had already set off 3 days ago. However, because of Chu Hen, the Flying Celestial Hall was still biding their time. However, before this, Chu Hen had already made his preparations and could set off at any time. Do you know what the fight for the Heaven and Earth Mystic Yellow Order means to you? Qi Hanyu's eyes were like torches, revealing traces of power. Chu Hen nodded. He was neither servile nor overbearing. I'm aware. Oh, aren't you afraid of failure? There's a way to solve failure. Moreover, I have no other choice. Qi Hanyu raised her head slightly and spoke in an indifferent tone. Before this, these 4 girls put in a lot of good words for you. They came to me every day to beg me to give you a chance. And I'm willing to try to believe in you just this once. You won't disappoint them, right? Chu Hen could not help but clench his fists. Naturally, he could hear another layer of meaning in Qi Hanyu's words. She was saying that if Chu Hen took this chance to escape with the blue Ran sword, Qin, Qi, Shu, and Hua would have to bear all the blame. Of course, Mount Kunliu's concern was not without reason. The probability of Chu Hen defeating Nangong Ku and Lung Lingyan was extremely small. Under such circumstances, Chu Hen could seize the opportunity to escape the Eastern Victory State while he was searching for the Heaven and Earth Black Yellow Order. This way, he wouldn't have to worry about Kuan Lushan injuring Chu Hen in order to retrieve the blue Ran sword. Therefore, Qi Hanyu intentionally gave Chu Hen a warning that wasn't really a warning. Chu Hen's expression did not change as he calmly said, "Regardless of the outcome, I, Chu Hen, will return to Mount Kunli. I believe you." Qi Hanyu replied calmly. She saw a kind of fortitude in the young man in front of her. She believed that Chu Hen would not abandon the 4 arts. Regardless of whether the Flying Immortal Palace could get the Heaven and Earth Mystic Yellow Order or not, as long as Chu Hen did not escape, Mount Kunliu would not suffer any loss because they could not get back the blue Ran sword. Since this is your first time in the Eastern Victory State, and since these 4 girls have been elsewhere for the past few years, I've arranged for someone to assist you. Qi Hanyu said. Oh, everyone's hearts lit up. Hua Shui couldn't help but ask, "Palace Master, who is it?" "It's me." An extremely imposing voice swept in from outside the palace. Along with a sharp wind-breaking force, a young figure with a steady aura suddenly flashed in the palace. The eyes of Chu Hen and the rest landed on this person. This was a young man with a cold and heroic aura. He was dressed in black and looked like a phantom in the darkness. His eyes, in particular, were extremely sharp, giving people the feeling that they were staring at an eagle. Senior brother Shan Jun. Hua Shui couldn't help but exclaim. Fu Qin, Ji Shu, and Nong Qi also had shocked expressions on their faces. Chu Hen wasn't familiar with this name. However, from the aura that this person emitted, he could tell that this person was not simple. This is Senior Brother Shan Jun, the number one person in the younger generation of the Flying Immortal Palace. Fu Qin explained to Chu Hen in a low voice. Senior Brother Shan Jun is very powerful. He can communicate with birds and beasts and understand all the languages of birds. He is also very powerful. Hua Shui chimed in. The few of them spoke one after another and revealed Shan Jun's background. The number one person in the Flying Immortal Palace? Chu Hen's heart lit up. He raised his eyebrows and looked surprised. I'm Chu Hen. I hope Senior Brother Shan Jun can give me some pointers. However, Shan Jun didn't seem to buy Chu Hen's goodwill. He responded with an indifferent expression. To be honest, I don't want to help you. However, I don't want the position of the sect master to fall into the hands of the demon-slaying palace or the void palace. Chu Hen wasn't angry. He just smiled. Although this person spoke bluntly, it could be seen that he was quite upright. This kind of person might not be easy to get along with, but he would definitely not stab someone in the back. Immediately, Chi Han Yu, the master of the Flying Immortal Palace, raised her left hand and said, Shan Jun will tell you everything about the search for the Heaven and Earth Black-Yellow Order. The rest is all up to you. Yes, Master. Everyone's eyes turned cold, and they responded with cautious expressions. About an hour later, screech, roar, a majestic scarlet-winged black eagle with a wingspan of more than 200 meters soared into the sky. At the same time, a domineering, stony, evil dragon covered in hard armor followed closely behind and quickly rose into the sky. The team consisting of Chu Hen, Qi Teng, Lu Qi, and Qin, Qi, Shu, and Hua set off. In addition to the newly joined Shan Jun, there were two other talented disciples of the Flying Immortal Palace with powerful cultivations. Their cultivations were at the 9th level of the Void-Piercing Realm and the peak of the 8th level of the Void-Piercing Realm. A total of 10 people acted as the vanguard team of the Flying Immortal Palace. Once the Heaven and Earth Black-Yellow Order was issued, the Eastern Victorious State was bound to usher in a reign of terror. All the major sects and forces were bound to move out like dragons. At that time, all the teams would compete. It was hard to imagine how chaotic the situation would be. In this situation, the importance of a team was reflected. This team, headed by Chu Hen and Shan Jun, had 5 experts at the 8th level of the Void-Piercing Realm, and their combat effectiveness was quite impressive. Among them, Nongqi had a very strong perception and tracking ability. Hua Xue was responsible for medical treatment, and Jishu was an indispensable spiritual tattooist. Although Qi Teng and Lu Qi's cultivations were relatively weak, their bloodlines were relatively strange, and they could help a lot in many cases. On a certain level, there were no major flaws in this group. Under the complicated gaze of the Kuan Lu sect, the scarlet-winged black eagle and the stony evil dragon gradually disappeared into the sky. The vast sky in the distance seemed to be surging with dark tides, which was the prelude to the coming storm. A huge turbulence, after 1,000 years, swept again. Master, you have done what you should do. At this point, you have done your best. No matter what the outcome is, you will not disappoint Master Gongyang. At the top of the mountain, Elder Mu whispered to the master of the Flying Immortal Palace in front of him. Chi Han Yu quietly looked at the 2 fuzzy black spots in the sky, with faint ripples in her eyes. Yes, I have done my best. Chapter 642. Phew, the wind whistled, and the clouds were like mist. The red-winged black eagle and the Shurian evil dragon flew side by side, passing through layers of clouds, emitting a huge, ferocious aura. On the back of the black eagle, Shan Jun sat quietly. His aura was as steady as a mountain, and he looked like a boulder. The other 2 geniuses of the Flying Immortal Palace maintained a cautious state. In comparison, Chu Hen and the others on the back of the Shurian evil dragon were much more relaxed. This might have something to do with the great improvement in their cultivation after coming out of the mysterious realm of the Flying Immortal. The victorious East Prefecture was vast and boundless. There were many dangerous places, and there were countless bustling places. However, with the announcement of the Heaven and Earth Black-Yellow Order, the entire victorious East Prefecture was already surging with turbulent undercurrents. Senior brother Shanjun, where are we going first? Nongqi asked. Shanjun, who was in meditation, slowly opened his eyes that were as sharp as an eagle's. His lips moved slightly as he replied in a deep voice, Haitian City. 6 days later, the group arrived at a prosperous and bustling city, Haitian City. The city was bustling with people and carriages, and the crowd was like a tide. There were all kinds of people gathered here, and almost everyone was talking about the Heaven and Earth Black-Yellow Order. The Heaven and Earth Black-Yellow Order has been announced for 5 days. Is there any news? I don't know. I heard that many forces have started to head to the central region. It's really chaotic. The victorious East Prefecture became more and more chaotic, as if the entire world was searching for the whereabouts of the Heaven and Earth Black-Yellow Order. Chu Hen and Shan Jun ordered the red-winged black eagle and the Shi Yin evil dragon to stay in the forest outside the city, and entered the city together. The noise and clamor filled every corner of Haitian City. The arrival of Chu Hen and the others attracted the attention of many people, especially the few young and beautiful girls in the group. They attracted even more attention. Shanjun acted as if he didn't see the strange gazes around him. He led Chu Hen and the others all the way to a chamber of commerce called Lin Xiang Pavilion. The attic's decorations were magnificent and sumptuous, giving off an air of luxury. But as soon as he stepped through the door, an extravagant aura assaulted him. The loft could only be described as a foul atmosphere. A large group of people surrounded the gambling table and shouted loudly. Some prostitutes in revealing clothes sat on the thighs of the man, smiling coquettishly. This drenched fragrance pavilion was clearly a gambling den and brothel. Senior brother Shanjun, why did you bring us to such a place? Hua Shui frowned slightly and looked at him in confusion. Playing the zither, Ji Shu and the other girls were not used to this kind of environment. Danjun didn't explain. Instead, she walked straight to the counter inside, took out a unique card, and handed it to a beautiful young woman inside. The man took the card and glanced at it. Then, a look of respect appeared on his face. Lord Dan, please come upstairs. Danjun's expression was still very cold as she walked straight up the stairs. Although everyone had doubts in their hearts, they still followed Danjun upstairs. Compared to the foul atmosphere downstairs, the environment upstairs was like heaven and earth. The spacious hall was resplendent and decorated neatly. The clean and new carpet and the thick floorboards were very soundproof. Although it was noisy downstairs, no noise could be heard upstairs. Lord Dan, you're here? A middle-aged man who looked like a manager walked out from the side of the long corridor and greeted Danjun respectfully. You're here to look for Lord Deer, right? I'll lead you there now. Danjun nodded. Then he looked back at Chu Hen and the others behind him and said, 2 of you just need to follow me. The rest of you can wait in the living room. The few of them nodded and looked at each other. Playing the zither, he walked to Chu Hen's side and said, I'll go. As the leader, Chu Hen naturally had the right to know everything. As for playing the zither, he was very capable in the area of command. Therefore, the 2 of them would naturally be in charge of everything. Immediately, Danjun, Chu Hen, and playing the zither followed the manager into the depths of the long corridor. The others stayed in the living room. Soon, the few of them arrived at the door of the innermost room. The door was pushed open, and a wisp of refreshing musk wafted over. As the fragrance entered their nostrils, they could not help but feel shocked and refreshed. Little Danjun, long time no see. What big business have you brought me this time? As soon as they entered the room, a sneaky laughter was heard. This laughter revealed traces of craftiness, as if it was made by a cunning profiteer who specialized in cheating people. Looking towards the source of the voice, they saw a rather jubilant old man with his legs crossed and his feet propped on a square table in front of him. He was looking in their direction with a smile on his face. Danjun smiled indifferently and swaggered to a guest chair and sat down. The middle-aged manager also invited Chu Hen and playing the zither to take their seats. This way, please. Then, a young lady with a good figure brought 3 cups of fragrant hot tea. "The 3 of you, please have some tea." When she passed by Chu Hen, she smiled sweetly and her eyes were full of flirtatiousness. Chu Hen nodded slightly and replied indifferently, "Many thanks. These 2 are very unfamiliar. I have never seen them before. I wonder which hero from Mount Kunliu are they?" The old man called Lord Deer looked at Chu Hen and playing the zither with great interest. His sneaky eyes were like that of a mouse stealing rice. It was very comical. However, under this comical look, there was a frightening viciousness. Dan Jun did not seem to have any intention of introducing Chu Hen. He gently fanned the teacup and took a sip of the hot tea. Then he said, "Why did I come to find you? You know very well." Hee. The old man grinned and scratched his head, revealing a crafty smile. "Name a price," Danjun said. "Hee, I say, little Danjun, with your Mount Kunliu's intelligence department, can't you find the whereabouts of the Heaven and Earth Mystic Yellow Order? Why you have to come here to spend this money? Don't you think so?" Hearing this, playing the zither could not help but be startled and immediately came to a realization. Just a moment ago, she did not know the purpose of Danjun's visit. She did not expect it to be to inquire about the Heaven and Earth Mystic Yellow Order. Moreover, from the expression of this old man, he seemed to know about the whereabouts of the Heaven and Earth Mystic Yellow Order. Indeed, the big shots were hidden in the city. Who would have thought that an ordinary casino and brothel would have such capabilities? Compared to playing the zither, Chu Hen was relatively calm. His fingertips gently tapped on the tea table beside him, quietly waiting for Danjun's reply. 10 million high-grade, primordial crystal stones. Chapter 643. 10 million high-grade, primal crystal stones. Danjun leisurely sipped his hot tea as he calmly stated the number. The crafty old man called Lord Deer chuckled and said, "Little Danjun, although you are my old customer, the people of the entire Eastern Victory Province have gone crazy. Everyone wants the Heaven and Earth Black Yellow Order. You see 50 million. Danjun said calmly. Fuqin's expression changed when he heard that the price had been increased by 5 times in just 2 sentences. Lord Deer's narrowed eyes revealed a sneaky glint. However, he still looked reluctant. "I say, Xiao Dan is really... In order to get this information about the Heaven and Earth Mystic Yellow Order, I paid a huge price." Many old customers shouted out a huge price, but I mainly want to cooperate with you. 100 million high-grade primal crystal stones. A cold voice was softly spat out from Danjun's mouth. She gently placed the teacup in her hand on the tea table and stood up. "This is my bottom line. If you want to charge me more, I'm sorry. I can only look for Third Master One." "Deal." Lord Deer agreed in an extremely forthright manner. His cunning smile was both comical and disgusting. Fuqin was not the only one who could not sit still when he heard that the Heaven and Earth Black Yellow Order was being bought with 100 million high-grade primal crystal stones. Even Chu Hen was shocked. This was only information about the whereabouts of the Heaven and Earth Black Yellow Order and not the actual item. At this moment, Chu Hen suddenly realized that he had greatly underestimated the value of the Heaven and Earth Black Yellow Order. If a piece of information was sold for 100 million high-grade primal crystal stones, then what kind of intense competition would it cause if it was the actual item? It's so refreshing to do business with people from big sects like you. Lord Deer stood up shakily. His narrowed eyes were in high spirits. It was obvious that the other party would definitely not sell this information to Danjun alone. If it was 10 sects, that would be 1 billion. It was hard to imagine how great the profit would be. "Let's trade." As Lord Deer spoke, he took out a sealed brocade box and placed it on the table in front of him. He then pushed it forward with his finger. Danjun slightly raised her head. "I don't have that many elemental crystals on me. I'll pay you a third of it first, and I'll write you a written receipt for the rest. You can send it over after I'm done, or you can go to Mount Kunliu with the written receipt." Hearing this, Lord Deer placed his palm on the brocade box and said with a smile, "Little Danjun, it's not a good thing to not bring enough money when you go out. It seems like our deal will have to be delayed." Danjun frowned and replied coldly, "Are you afraid that I won't admit it?" No, no, no. Lord Deer hurriedly waved his hands. Among all the customers who have traded with me, you, Xiao Dan, are the most trustworthy one. However, this matter is very special. No matter who it is, I will only accept a one-time transaction in full. Dan Jun's eyes turned slightly cold, revealing a hint of sharpness. Little Dan Jun, don't be angry. The ancient desolation heaven domain is about to begin. Once the heaven and earth black and yellow order is announced, it will cause many forces to fight over it. In this battle, many people will lose their lives. If everyone buys from me on credit, then I'll suffer a huge loss. It's business after all. I've never done a losing deal. Old man Lu laughed like an old fox. He slowly moved the brocade box that he was pressing down onto his side. Once the heaven and earth black and yellow order was announced, all the forces would fight for it, and it would definitely set off a bloodbath. In his opinion, the most difficult thing to do was to collect debts from the dead. However, at this moment, a loud bang sounded. Dust flew everywhere, and rocks flew everywhere. Along with waves of cold aura, more than 10 masked figures suddenly smashed through the surrounding walls and directly rushed in. 3 of them charged straight at Danjun, Chu Hen, and Fu Qin, brandishing their blades. The rest of them did not say anything and quickly rushed towards Old Man Lu. Hand over the item. A deep voice was filled with ruthlessness. Humph! Danjun's eyes turned cold, and his left hand flew out like lightning. His index and middle fingers were joined together like a sharp arrow. Bang! Along with a muffled sound, a series of blood splattered in the air. The throat of the masked man who rushed towards Danjun was directly pierced by the sharp finger strength. Chu Hen also attacked quickly. His palm strength, which was swallowing and spitting black light, hit on the chest of one of the masked men. The latter felt as if he had been hit by a mountain. His bones were all broken, and his broken internal organs spurted out from his mouth. At the same time, Old Man Lu raised his hand and flipped the table in front of him, smashing it towards the group of masked men. Then, he immediately put the brocade box into his storage ring. Little Danjun, it seems that we really can make a deal today. Go back and get enough money, then find me at the next place. I'll leave these people to you, and I'll give you a discount. I'm going to. After saying that, Old Man Lu leaped and hit the wall behind him. Bang! In an instant, the wall behind him was directly hit, and a hole the size of a window appeared. Bright light and chaotic dust shone in. Behind this hole was the street outside. As soon as Old Man Lu left, the group of masked men immediately targeted Chu Hen and the other 2 people. Almost without saying a word, they raised their sabers and slashed. However, they had really underestimated Chu Hen and the other 2 people. In the chaos, they could not even get close to the 3 people and were completely killed by one blow. Then, Qi Tung, Lu Qi, Ji Shu, and the others who were alarmed also quickly rushed over. But before they could do anything, the battle was already over. What happened? One of the disciples of the fairy palace who followed Danjun asked in a deep voice. Danjun did not explain too much. Her sharp eyes looked at the hole in the wall where Old Man Lu had left, and she said, I'm afraid this damn old man has been targeted. Chase him. Behind the passage, there was a wide street, but this was obviously a secluded street. At first glance, it was deserted, and there were only a few people. Over there, Fu Qin exclaimed and pointed to the entrance of an alley in front of them. When everyone looked over, they were shocked to see Old Man Lu lying on the ground. His eyes were wide open, and there was no light in them. Blood was flowing out of his mouth. Danjun hurriedly rushed forward and pressed her hand on the left side of the man's neck. She then lifted the man's collar and saw a dark red palm print on the man's chest. Killed with one palm, Danjun's face immediately turned cold. Their expressions changed again and again, especially the 2 genius disciples of the fairy palace. Both of them often went on missions with Danjun, and they had also come into contact with Old Man Lu a few times. They knew that although Old Man Lu looked like an unscrupulous businessman, his cultivation base was so strong that he had one foot in the profound world stage, it was not easy to kill him, let alone kill him with one palm strike. Then, they also discovered that Old Man Lou's storage bracelet had been taken away. Obviously, the other party had come for the news of the Heaven and Earth Black-Yellow Order. It seems like someone has been lying in ambush here and launched a sneak attack to kill him with one palm strike. Fu Qin said in a deep voice. Chu Hen's eyes turned cold. He looked sideways and said in a deep voice, "Nong Chi got it." Nong Chi immediately formed a seal with both of her hands. A gorgeous light pattern flashed between her brows. In less than 3 seconds, along with a slight airwave, Nong Chi opened her beautiful eyes and said with certainty, "About 400 meters to the southwest, there is a cold aura moving quickly towards the outside of the city. The auras of the other people in the city are relatively stable. Chase." Without saying anything further, Chu Hen immediately turned into an afterimage and headed in the southwest direction. Chapter 644. About 400 meters to the southwest, there's a cold aura moving quickly out of the city. The aura of the others in the city is relatively stable. Nong Chi quickly made a judgment. Chu Hen's eyes turned cold, and he gave the command without hesitation. "Go after him." Swoosh. In an instant, everyone turned into a streak of afterimages as they swiftly pursued in the southwest direction without another word. Haitian City was bustling with activity, row upon row of high-rise buildings. It was in this chaotic atmosphere that there was infinite killing intent hidden. No one thought that Old Man Lou would die just like that. He was killed by the murderer with a single palm strike. It could be seen that the murderer's cultivation was extremely strong, and his methods were extremely ruthless. Chu Hen could not help but feel that he had really underestimated the influence of the Heaven and Earth Black-Yellow Order. However, this was just the beginning. "There he is," Nong Chi shouted softly. A cold light flashed in the corner of Chu Hen's eyes. In a dark alley in front of him, he saw a figure in black clothes and a black hoodie moving quickly. The opponent was very fast, and his movement was especially agile. He was like a spirit swallow that had returned to its nest, agile and sharp. Let me do it." Chi Tong raised his thick eyebrows, and without saying a word, he quickly rushed forward. Then he put his palms together, and an extremely restless and huge aura suddenly erupted from his body. Giant rock stairway technique. Rumble. In the next moment, the ground in front of him suddenly bulged, and deep cracks rapidly spread forward. Rocks flew everywhere, and the speed of the cracks reached the front of the man in black in an instant. Boom! Then, the layer of soil burst open, and a huge stone tablet that was more than 100 meters tall suddenly shot up into the sky. Along with the flying dust and smoke, it blocked the way of the man in black. "Good job, big guy." Hua Shui praised him with a little admiration. Chi Tung grinned. Hee, it's nothing." However, in the next second, a heavy explosion followed. The man in black raised his hand and smashed the huge stone tablet that was more than 100 meters tall and more than 10 meters thick into pieces. F***, are you kidding me? Chi Tong was dumbfounded, and the smile on his face immediately froze. Subsequently, the man in black flashed through the rain of flying rocks without even looking back. Not only did the stone tablet that Chi Tong had summoned fail to stop the other party, but had also inadvertently alarmed many people who had gathered in Haitian City. In an instant, several fierce figures darted out from the buildings on both sides of the street. "What's the situation?" "That seems to be Su Lang and Ling Tao from Mount Kunliu. It's the two of them. I saw Dan Jin here an hour ago." "Wait, who is the person they're chasing?" There was no lack of people with keen eyesight in the crowd. He quickly recognized the two geniuses from the Flying Immortal Palace who were assisting Chu Hen and the others. At the same time, everyone's attention was quickly diverted to the man in black who was running away. Someone who could force Mount Kunliu's team to chase after him was definitely not an ordinary person. Considering the fact that the Heaven and Earth Mystic Yellow Order had been issued, it was obvious that it was related to this matter. "Don't tell me that person has the Heaven and Earth Mystic Yellow Order?" A brawny man with a simple mind and well-developed limbs shouted loudly. It would have been better if he had not spoken, but his shout was like a huge stone being thrown into a calm water. The entire Haitian city was immediately stirred up. Quick, quick, stop that person. He has the heaven and earth mystic yellow order. What? The heaven and earth mystic yellow order? It's mine. I'll fight whoever dares to snatch it from me. Once they heard the words heaven and earth mystic yellow order, countless people became dizzy. Regardless of whether it was real or not, they would take it down first. Boom! In the blink of an eye, the group of heroes rose into the air. Numerous black shadows soared into the sky and released a powerful aura as they surrounded and attacked the man in black from all directions. If you don't want to die, then hand over the heaven and earth mystic yellow order. A middle-aged brawny man wielding a huge blade waved a strong gust of wind and slashed menacingly at the man in black. However, the man in black did not stop for even half a second. He raised his hand and struck out with his palm. A beam of light formed from the palm force shot out and directly pierced through the chest of the brawny man. Dazzling fresh blood exploded in the sky along with his shattered internal organs. The brawny man's aura suddenly weakened. He let out a miserable scream and fell from the sky. But immediately after, another 5 or 6 people rushed over. Resplendent blade lights and sword shadows crossed the sky like a divine rainbow, sweeping up a powerful destructive force as they rushed towards the man in black. The man in black was not in a hurry. His hands moved like a willow, and a strange rhythm appeared in the air. His left and right hands each dragged out an illusory light shadow. The 2 light shadows rotated rapidly like the stars. They directly absorbed the various true inner energy attacks and gathered them between his palms, turning into a colorful ball of light. Buzz! In the next moment, the man in black lifted his palms outwards. The ball of light immediately turned into 5 or 6 beams of light and was released. Like a sharp arrow, it quickly shot towards the surrounding people. The expressions of the group of people changed drastically. Their pupils shrank to the size of a needle. Before they could react, the powerful and sharp beam of light directly broke through their true essence defense and pierced through their throats. A series of blood rain danced in the sky above Haitian City. For the sake of the heaven and earth mystic yellow order, countless people rushed forward without fear of death. However, everyone had greatly underestimated the strength of the black-clothed man. Every single person who charged in front of him was basically killed in a single strike. Forget about snatching anything from him. Even getting close to him was difficult. This person is very strong. Be careful. Don't get close for now. The one who spoke was the genius of the flying immortal palace, Su Lang, who had reached the 9th level of the void-piercing realm. Everyone nodded, and their eyes were filled with a strong sense of cautiousness. Chu Hen narrowed his eyes and was secretly bewildered. The situation in Dongshang province was really much more complicated than in the 100 Kingdoms province. This was only a microcosm of the fight for the heaven and earth mystic yellow order. It was just the beginning. It was hard to imagine what kind of massacre and bloody rain would be set off in the future. However, Chu Hen also understood that in this cruel world, people die for wealth and birds die for food. Boom! The group of heroes besieged the man in black and attacked for a long time without success. Not only that, the speed at which the man moved out of the city did not seem to slow down at all. One by one, the experts with extraordinary strength fell under the man's palm. The fierce battle caused the sky above Haitian City to become turbulent. Damn thing, let's kill him together. Do it. Kill. The anger of the crowd spread. Nearly 100 experts with powerful auras swarmed in from different directions. The mighty true essence descended like a divine rainbow. Heaven and earth dimmed a little. All kinds of terrifying impact force swept out and rushed towards a man in black. The force was like thunder. It was comparable to the force of thousands of soldiers and horses. Even the void became distorted. However, almost at the same time, the spiritual power of heaven and earth around the man in black suddenly gathered and merged between his palms. A majestic force surged out from his body. The shocking force covered all directions and covered the power of heaven and earth. Boom! In the next second, a huge circular array with the man in black as the center swept out in all directions. That is, Chu Hen, who was outside the battle, faintly narrowed his eyes. He saw that the huge circular light array was actually divided into two colors, black and white. Half was yin and the other half was yang. There was yin in the yang and yang in the yin. It was the pattern of the Tai Chi Yin Yang array. The Tai Chi Yin Yang array rotated and covered the sky. It spread out and crushed all the powerful attacks with a sweeping force. Boom! Bang! All kinds of attacks exploded and turned into crystal fragments that filled the sky. The momentum of the Tai Chi Yin Yang array did not diminish. It caused the space to distort. The terrifying shock wave was like a mountain flood. The sky changed color. The majestic force was like the roar of mountains and rivers. The many experts that surrounded the man in black were shaken by this force and vomited blood. They were all sent flying backwards. There were also many people in front. Their internal organs were shattered and their bones were broken. They died on the spot. Earth Profound Realm. An absolute Earth Profound Realm expert. Only an expert of the Earth Profound Realm could explode with such a terrifying force. The faces of the people of Mount Konglu changed again. This was only the first stop after leaving the sect, and they had already encountered such a strong opponent. It was really a blow. For some reason, when Chu Hen looked at the figure of the man in black, an inexplicable sense of familiarity rose in his heart. The silhouette of the opponent seemed to be familiar. However, without waiting for Chu Hen to continue observing, the man in black slapped down with one hand. A peerlessly imposing palm energy pierced down like a dragon, and the rows of buildings below were completely crushed. Rocks and dirt filled the sky as they soared into the sky, giving rise to a sandstorm that swept towards the people behind them. A tsunami of sand mixed with a terrifying hidden force surged over. Everyone retreated and covered their faces with their hands. When Chu Hen and the others came to their senses, the man in black had already disappeared without a trace. Damn it, we still let him escape. Chi Tong cursed angrily. Nong Chi, track his aura again, Su Lang said. I don't think that's necessary. Fu Qin shook his head and spoke out to stop them. That person is too strong, and we don't know if he has any helpers. If we chase after him rashly, even if we take back what we want, I'm afraid that our losses will definitely not be small. Su Lang was silent for a moment and did not say anything. Then, everyone's eyes fell on Chu Hen. They saw Chu Hen staring at the sky without saying a word, as if he was thinking about something. After a brief hesitation, Chu Hen finally shook his head and rejected the unrealistic idea in his heart. There's no need to chase after him. Chu Hen looked back at the crowd and said, We have already got what we want. Oh. Chapter 645. There's no need to chase after him. We've already gotten what we want. Chu Hen looked back at the crowd and said, Oh. The crowd was stunned. Got it? What does that mean? Chu Hen did not reply. Instead, he turned his gaze towards the back of the crowd. Everyone turned their heads as well, only to see a grave and stern figure leisurely walking towards them. Senior brother Shan Zhen? You. The crowd was even more stunned as they looked at each other. Only now did the crowd realize that Shan Zhen did not follow the crowd to chase after the mysterious man in black from the beginning. Due to the chaos just now, no one had noticed this. They thought Shan Zhen was beside them and did not notice that one person was missing from the group. Senior brother Shan Zhen, where did you go? Why are you only here now? Hua Shui asked. Shan Zhen did not answer. Instead, he looked at Chu Hen with interest. Why? Are you so confident that I've already gotten it? Chu Hen raised his eyebrows and said calmly, You're willing to spend 100 million high-grade primordial crystal stones for that information, but you're too lazy to chase after the box that was taken away. It seems like you're prepared. Danjin smiled, spread her hands, and shrugged. The crowd's curiosity was piqued. All of them stared at Shan Zhen with anticipation. Senior brother Shan Zhen, did you really get the information about the Heaven and Earth Black-Yellow Order? Hua Shui asked again. Shan Zhen smiled without saying anything. He threw a wrinkled oilcloth to the other party. Hua Shui could not wait to take it and open it. The people next to her also stretched their heads over to take a look. There was a terrain map drawn on the oilcloth. There were simple coordinates and geographical names on it. It seemed to be quite detailed. Everyone's eyes lit up. They were overjoyed. Luckily, I know old man Lu. I know that he would definitely not sell such important information to me alone. In the end, I found this map on him, Shanjin said. At the same time, his sharp eyes flashed with a hint of contempt. Although I can't buy information from him anymore, it saved me 100 million high-grade primordial crystal stones. Shanjin was not sad that old man Lu was killed. The relationship between the two of them only existed between customers and customers. They could not even be considered as ordinary friends. The only thing that made Shanjun sigh with emotion was that old man Lu was still sneering at countless people for the sake of the heaven and earth mystic yellow order a second ago. But in the next second, he had become a dead soul under someone else's palm. This could also be considered a form of irony. Speaking of which, the mysterious black-clothed man's actions were vicious enough. His methods were ruthless, and he killed people cleanly and efficiently. Many well-trained assassins were probably not as good as him. Let's go. Dan Jun shot a meaningful glance at Chu Hen and said, "Screech, roar." Soon, along with a loud eagle's cry and an angry beast's roar, the red-winged black hawk and the Shurian evil dragon once again carried everyone up into the sky and soon disappeared into the horizon. Poisonous dragon pool. The terrain was steep and dangerous. The whole area was 1,000 miles long and 800 miles wide. It was a paradise for many water-type beasts. The poisonous dragon pool was surrounded by mountains and rivers, and was surrounded by forests and rivers. In the valley of the mountain, it was filled with mist all year round. The sun could not be seen during the day, and the stars could not be seen during the night. This was a dangerous place in the victorious East region. If it was during normal times, people would rarely come to the poisonous dragon pool. Other than all kinds of ferocious beasts, there were basically no human figures. However, in the past few days, countless outsiders had gathered in this dangerous place. The clamor had broken the peace of this place. Streams and waterfalls flowed, and the water flowed happily. A long-haired giant rhinoceros was drinking water by the river. Its huge body was like a wall, steady and sturdy. This kind of giant beast was majestic and domineering, and it seemed that no one dared to provoke it. However, at this moment, with a rumble sound, the water splashed more than 10 feet high. A white snake with shining scales flew out of the water and directly used its huge body that was more than 10 meters wide to firmly entangle the long-haired giant rhinoceros. The giant rhinoceros struggled with all its might, causing layers of waves and muddy water to explode. However, the huge white python was even more powerful. In addition, it was underwater, so its strength was even greater. In just 7 or 8 seconds, the giant rhinoceros and the white snake were both dragged into the water. Not long after, the water's surface returned to normal. On the other side of the mountain, a few strangely large butterflies were fluttering among the flowers. Their light movements were as if they were threading a needle, looking nimble and moving. Suddenly, a colorful giant spider with a body length of 30 meters suddenly scuttled out of the lush forest. With lightning speed, it pounced towards one of the large butterflies. It looked like there was no comparison between the two. That butterfly was definitely going to die. However, just as the giant spider's sharp mouth pincers were about to shred the butterfly into pieces, a mirage-like colorful halo was emitted from the butterfly's body, along with a wave of demonic fragrance. In the next instant, the giant spider's huge body instantly froze. Waves of dark green light patterns appeared on its body. Hua! Immediately after, the giant spider's body actually melted like ice, instantly turning into a ball of dark green, smelly liquid. This place is really scary. Hua Shui, who was sitting on the back of Shi Yan's evil dragon beast, was a little worried. She retracted her head, that was looking down, and looked forward again. The red-winged shadow and Shi Yan's evil dragon beast were flying at a low altitude. At first glance, the poisonous dragon pool was shrouded in mist. The hazy mist looked like a natural barrier that wouldn't melt for thousands of years. Everyone's vision was limited to a radius of 5 miles. If ordinary people came here, they would probably get lost in less than half an hour. Screech! At this moment, a sharp bird cry was heard. Following that, a strange falcon pierced through the thick clouds like a shooting arrow. Dan Jun, who was sitting on the red-winged shadow, lifted her eyelids and stretched out her left arm. Under everyone's surprised gaze, the eagle landed on Dan Jun's arm. This eagle wasn't big, but its whole body was shining brightly. Every golden feather was like a piece of glittering and translucent jade, overflowing with colors and surrounded by a wisp of illusory light patterns. The most eye-catching part was its pair of sharp claws and beak. They had a dazzling golden luster, as if they were soaked in the holy essence of the sun. Golden-clawed heavenly eagle. Jishu's beautiful eyes lit up as she said in surprise. Hearing these 4 words, Chu Hen's face also showed some surprise. This golden-clawed heavenly eagle was a powerful demon beast with the bloodline of a beast monarch. It was capable of transformation, knew the weather, and was especially fast and powerful. Cuckoo! The golden-clawed heavenly eagle landed on Dan Jun's hand and let out a deep cry. Previously at Mount Kunliu, Chu Hen already knew that Dan Jun could communicate with birds. Now that he saw it with his own eyes, he was still surprised. I know. After listening to the other party, Dan Jun calmly replied, Keep an eye on it. Cuckoo. Immediately after, the golden-clawed heavenly eagle leaped up and turned into a shadow, disappearing into the horizon again. What did it say? Su Lang, who was behind Dan Jun, asked in a deep voice. Chu Hen, Fu Qin, Chi Tung, and the others also looked at each other. Dan Jun's eyes narrowed slightly. There was a fleeting chill at the corner of her eyes. She then said, There are many people gathered in front. Something is blocking their way. Has the heaven and earth black-yellow order been taken by someone else? Hua Shui could not help but ask. I'm not too sure yet. Dan Jun shook her head. Her eyes revealed some contemplation. Soon, a huge pool surrounded by mountains gradually appeared in everyone's sight. Mountains and rivers were intertwined, and white fog lingered. From afar, a vast expanse of white fog shrouded the heaven and earth, forming the magnificent, dreamy cloud swampland. Meanwhile, everyone stopped in the valley of the plains outside the dreamy cloud swampland. However, they did not dare to rashly enter. They seemed to have some concerns. Let's go down and take a look, Dan Jun said. Everyone nodded and immediately flew down. They leaped away from the red-winged black-clothed man and the Shi Yin evil dragon and flew down one after another. The arrival of the people from Mount Kunliu immediately attracted the attention of many people in the surroundings. However, everyone's gazes were filled with vigilance. When everyone landed on the ground, a wide river blocked their way. The sky above the river was misty like smoke. Through the misty white fog, they could vaguely see the many steep valleys and mountains in the depths of the poisonous dragon swampland. Chapter 646. There's something in the water, and there's a lot of it, Nongqi said in a low voice. Chu Hen nodded slightly, and a hint of cautiousness appeared between his eyebrows. Everyone began to observe the characteristics of the terrain in front of them. The mist above the river was like smoke. Through the misty white mist, they could vaguely see the dangerous place in the depths of the poisonous dragon lake. Many people from various forces gathered around it, and they all stopped here in fear. They did not even dare to approach the river in front of them. This poisonous dragon lake, which was as beautiful as the dreamy cloud swamp, actually hid infinite murderous intent. I'll go see what's in the water, Lu Qi said as she walked forward. Immediately, the true vitality in her body was released. She stretched out her palm, and a powerful aura was released from her palm. Splash! The water surface was tumbling, and it shook violently. Then, a water ball with a diameter of more than 10 meters slowly rose from the surface of the lake and floated in midair. What's that? Everyone was slightly startled. They saw that inside the enormous water ball, there were actually many strange black shadows swimming about. When they looked carefully, they saw that they were actually many long and narrow fish. The appearance of these fish was particularly special. They were bony, and they looked like dried fossils. Each of them was about half a meter long. However, in this water ball with a diameter of more than 10 meters, there were hundreds of these strange fish. The density was so high that it made people shudder. From this, it could be seen how many of these strange fish lived in the entire river. There doesn't seem to be anything special about it. Hua Shui walked to Lu Qi's side. She opened her eyes wide and stared curiously at the strange fish wrapped in the water ball. However, at this moment, Lu Qi's delicate body trembled slightly, and the released true vitality was forcibly shaken off the rhythm. Bang! With a loud explosion, the huge water ball that floated in midair suddenly exploded. Lu Qi turned pale with fright and hurriedly shouted, "Hua Shui, retreat quickly!" Before she finished speaking, a strange sharp whistling sound came toward them. In an instant, hundreds of black shadows rushed over with the cold water splashing. The strange fish all revealed their ferocious faces and mouths full of sharp teeth. Each of them was like evil spirits that rushed out from hell. They were extremely fast and powerful. Hua Shui, Lu Qi. The expressions of the people from Mount Kun Lu changed drastically. This happened so suddenly that no one had expected it. The expressions of the surrounding people were all different. Some were frightened, some were fearful, and some were gloating. Not long ago, they'd personally witnessed many people being dragged into the water by these strange fish, and they'd been turned into a pile of broken bones in a short span of 2 seconds. At the critical moment, Chu Hen's eyes turned cold, and a fierce aura erupted from his body. Bang! Chu Hen lifted his leg and stamped on the ground. A circle of qi swept out. The fallen leaves, gravel, and branches on the ground were all shaken up. Then Chu Hen stretched out his hand, and a majestic qi surged out. The densely packed leaves and gravel immediately shot out. As they moved, an illusory aura quickly appeared on the surface of all the leaves and gravel, looking like hundreds of sharp sword qi. Hiss, hiss. Blood sprayed into the air, and minced meat flew everywhere. The attack formed by the leaves, gravel, and branches was like a divine weapon that pierced through and killed all the strange fish that were rushing toward Lu Qi and Hua Shui. The magnificent scene was like chopping vegetables. Many of the strange fish that were chopped into several pieces fell down, and the minced meat instantly covered the ground. That scared me to death. Hua Shui, who had narrowly escaped death, was so scared that she almost cried. She quickly hid at the back. The people from Mount Kun Lu couldn't help but let out a sigh of relief. At the same time, they looked at Chu Hen in surprise. Is this the one-sword flying immortal technique? Danjun raised her eyebrows and asked with interest. The corner of Chu Hen's mouth curled up slightly, but he didn't say anything. His gaze turned to the strange fish on the ground and saw that these ugly fish were especially fierce. Even though they were chopped into 2 or 3 pieces, they didn't die immediately. Instead, they struggled on the ground. They could even jump up and jump half a meter off the ground. What the hell are these things? Their vitality is really strong. As Chi Tong spoke, he stomped on the head of one of the strange fish and flattened it into meat paste. They should be an ancient species of piranha, Jishu explained softly. Jishu explained softly. There are many ancient creatures in this world. Because of their own bodies or environmental factors, they're unable to complete a higher level of evolution. But because of their age, their adaptability is extremely strong, and their vitality will naturally become more and more shocking. At this moment, a team of more than 20 people suddenly walked over. Isn't this senior brother Danjun from Mount Kun Lu? It's an honor to meet you. I'm Wei Yang from Wind Rain Manor. What's the matter? The other party greeted him with a smile, but Danjun had a cold look on his face. Senior brother Danjun, we arrived a lot earlier than you. There are tens of thousands of ancient piranhas gathered in this pool. Not only are there a lot of them, but they're also extremely difficult to deal with. In the deeper areas, you can even encounter ancient piranhas that can fly. Therefore, we would like to cooperate with Mount Kunlu and work together to explore the secrets of the poison dragon pool. What do you think, senior brother Danjun? Hee. Wei Yang had a flattering smile on his face. Danjun also smiled. Seeing Danjun like this, Wei Yang smiled even more happily. He didn't think that the other party would agree so easily. He thought that he would have to spend more time talking. But immediately after, Danjun spat out a word coldly. Scram! Scram! With these words, the smile on Wei Yang's face immediately froze. The people behind him also couldn't help but be stunned. What did you say? I told you to scram? You still haven't gotten over it. Danjun's eyes surged with coldness. Wei Yang was furious. You Danjun, don't think that you could be arrogant just because you're from Mount Kunlu. It's fine if you don't agree, but why insult me? Umph, Danjun sneered. If you really wanted to cooperate with us, why didn't you warn us just now? Just now? You were also hoping that my companion would be attacked and die. Being scolded by Danjun, Wei Yang's face instantly turned red and white. Indeed, Hua Xue and Lu Qi almost died just now. If Wei Yang had come to warn them earlier, it would have been out of kindness. However, Wei Yang came to warn them after the fact, and even asked for cooperation. This meant that he probably had other intentions. Chu Hen, who was watching from the side, couldn't help but have a good impression of Danjun. Although Danjun's way of doing things was slightly cold, he valued his companions. This kind of person might not be easy to get along with, but he was definitely worth befriending. Dan, don't go too far. Wei Yang's group was embarrassed in anger. Danjun's eyelids lifted slightly, revealing a sharp glint. What? You still want to fight me? You think I'm afraid of you? Wei Yang's side had the advantage in numbers, but they weren't too afraid of Mount Kunlu's side. But at this moment, a GG sound suddenly came into everyone's ears. Then the earth shook and the mountain shook. Under everyone's confused gazes, they saw a fist-sized mound of earth rise up from the ground. The mound of earth split open, and poisonous insects with hard carapaces quickly crawled out from the ground, like an evil army awakened by fresh blood. Not good. It's the corpse beetle swarm. Chapter 647. Not good. It's a swarm of corpse beetles. What? The moment they heard the words corpse beetle, horror dawned on everyone's faces. This was a type of small demon beast with frightening offensive power and extremely strong defensive power. A single corpse beetle was enough to kill an ordinary tiger or water buffalo. And most frightening thing was that the number of corpse beetles that suddenly appeared was comparable to a swarm of locusts. It was so dense that it sent chills down everyone's spine. GG. The corpse beetles that carried a thick carapace and were covered with sturdy tentacles waved their long arms and let out strange, excited and shrill cries. Immediately after, they rushed over like a black tide, rapidly pouncing on the people around them. Their speed was so fast that they were like bolts of black lightning. Without saying a word, everyone hurriedly mobilized the true yuan in their bodies and unleashed all sorts of powerful attacks. Bang! The air exploded with all sorts of violent vibrations. One by one, the corpse beetles were sent flying, heavily smashing into the stone walls. However, these corpse beetles were like copper beans, smashing heavily into the ground. They only rolled a few times before climbing back up as if nothing had happened. The carapace on their backs opened up, revealing a pair of thin wings. In an instant, the dense swarm of corpse beetles suddenly flew up, covering the sky and earth as they pounced on the crowd gathered on the riverbank from all angles. The first pitiful scream echoed out. A large piece of flesh was bitten off the neck of a burly man wielding a saber by a corpse beetle. The snout was as sharp as a guillotine. It was able to easily tear through the true essence defensive armor of an enemy. At the same time, a poison secreted from the poisonous teeth quickly entered the man's body, and the meridians in the man's body were immediately paralyzed. Without a doubt, being paralyzed in this kind of situation was absolutely fatal. The black mass of corpse beetles immediately crawled up the man's body. accompanied by a heart-wrenching scream. The flesh on the burly man's body was completely bitten off in the blink of an eye. A white skeleton stained with residual blood fell to the ground like mud. Hiss! Heavens! The scene in front of them caused everyone present to involuntarily suck in a breath of cold air, their scalps tingling. Their faces were filled with intense shock. Use fire! A young man in Wei Yang's team shouted. Rumble! In the next instant, a huge fireball shot out from one of Wu Xiu's palms towards the swarm of corpse beetles in front of him. The powerful flames caused the space around them to distort. However, the high temperature of the flames could not stop the corpse beetle at all. Unscathed corpse beetles were able to pass through the raging flames and pounce over. The pupils of the man who launched the flame attack violently constricted. Before he could dodge, the incomparably terrifying scene from before appeared once more. The blood-curdling screams came one after another. The scene was extremely bloody. Like a swarm of flies, they devoured the flesh and blood of many experts. Taking advantage of this chaos, the strange fish in the river also launched a sneak attack. They dragged some of the wuxio who had escaped to the riverbank into the water and killed them. At this moment, the scene was filled with screams. Go, run. Everyone lost the will to fight back. The only thought left in their minds was to escape. Wei Yang of Wind Rain Villa glared at Dan Jun and his team fiercely. Without another word, he shouted, Let's go. Senior brother Dan Jun, there are too many of these corpse beetles. Even we can't hold them off for long. Su Lang held his sharp sword and created a powerful sword aura that directly cut a dozen corpse beetles in half. He said with a serious expression, Buzz, buzz. However, just as he finished speaking, another swarm of black bees rushed out from the forest behind them. These bees were very large, more than 10 times the size of ordinary wasps. Their sharp stingers shone with a cold green light. It's the killer bees. Jishu's lily-white hands clenched, her voice trembling. Damn it! Chi Tong cursed. They must have been attracted by the smell of blood here. Now, even the path of retreat has been blocked. Corpse beetles in front and killer bees behind. They had just arrived at the Poison Dragon Lake and already encountered such a crisis. It was really unexpected. However, at this moment, Chu Hen shouted to Danjin, Open a path in the direction of the Poison Dragon Lake. What? Everyone was startled. There were a lot of man-eating fish in the water. However, Danjun did not doubt Chu Hen's intention at all. His eyes revealed 2 sharp rays of light, followed by a burst of majestic aura. He raised both his palms, and a powerful palm energy pierced through the swarm of corpse beetles in front of him. Boom! The extremely powerful palm energy caused a series of thunderous sounds in the air. The corpse beetles in the direction of the Poison Dragon Lake were directly blasted through a gap a few meters wide. Danjun did not say much and took the lead to open a path in front of them. All of you follow me. Without any hesitation, everyone followed Danjun and rushed in the direction of the river. However, in the next second, the corpse beetles and the terrifying killer bees rushed back like arrows released from a bow. However, almost at the same time, Chu Hen, who was at the very back, exploded with a bewitching purple light. His fierce eyes instantly turned purple in color, destructive demon flame. Buzz! A cold aura spread in all directions, causing the space to distort and shake. Then, a towering purple demon flame appeared out of nowhere and rushed towards the swarm of corpse beetles and killer bees like a tidal wave. GG. Kiki. What shocked everyone was that these things that were not afraid of water and fire seemed to have met their nemesis. All of them let out ear-piercing screeches. The purple demon flame quickly spread out, covering the sky and covering the earth. It immediately formed a sea of purple fire around the people of Mount Kunliu. Wherever the evil flame went, countless killer bees were incinerated into ashes, while the corpse beetles were reduced to fireballs and fell to the ground. Chu Hen frowned, secretly shocked at the terrifying defense of the corpse beetles. Even the power of the demon flame could not burn them to ashes in an instant. At the same time, Danjun led the people to the shore. The strange fish in the water bared their teeth and prepared to attack. Let's go, Shanjin shouted. Then, she stepped into the air and turned into a shadow that shot into the sky. Chi Tung, Fu Qin, Su Lang, and the others followed and flew into the sky. In the next second, the man-eating fish in the water leaped into the air. Their speed was so fast that they were like arrows that had been released from a bow. They leaped into the air and attacked the crowd. However, before the man-eating fish could reach the people of Mount Kunliu, the space between the two sides distorted violently. A demonic and domineering purple flame once again blocked the group of man-eating fish. Hiss! Wah! All kinds of sharp whistling sounds spread in the air. All the man-eating fish that came into contact with the purple flame were instantly turned to ashes. Screech! Roar! The red-winged black eagle and Sure Yin evil dragon that were already prepared flew over. Everyone moved and landed on the backs of the two large demonic beasts. Chu Hen. Everyone quickly looked at Chu Hen, who was in charge of the rear. Swoosh! Before his voice died away, a dazzling silver light flashed across the sky. Chu Hen, who was on the ground a second ago, immediately returned to Sure Yin evil dragon's back. Go straight to the center of the poisonous dragon lake, Chu Hen said in a deep voice. There were still many killer bees and corpse beetles in the rear. Although they could kill them with the power of the demon eye, it would definitely consume a lot of energy. For now, it was not the time to go all out. Otherwise, if something unexpected happened later, it would be difficult to guarantee that they could escape unscathed. Danjun looked at Chu Hen's pupils that had returned to normal in surprise. He seemed to have some doubts in his heart. However, he did not ask any more questions. After all, everyone had their own secrets. Su Lang, Ling Tao, keep an eye on the surroundings. Do not relax for even a moment. Yes. Understood, Senior Brother Danjun. The two solemnly answered. Then, one stood on the left side of the red-winged black eagle, while the other stood on the right side. They had fully raised their mental state to the highest level. Immediately, the two large demonic beasts directly passed through the thick white mist and flew straight to the center of the poisonous dragon lake. On the riverbank, while the many Wuxiu were getting rid of the corpse beetles and killer bees, they were still shocked when they saw the two demonic beasts gradually disappearing in the sky above the poisonous dragon lake. Who is that young man? Since when did Mount Kunliu have such a person? I'm not sure. It seems that the Heaven and Earth Black-Yellow Order this time has attracted a lot of powerful, low-profile people. Indeed, I even heard yesterday that a mysterious person went on a killing spree in Heavenly Ocean City a few days ago, and even the vice president of the Northern Sky Trading Company was killed. Moreover, many fierce battles have erupted in a few other bustling cities as well. The Heaven and Earth Black-Yellow Order really makes people crazy. What makes people crazy is not the Heaven and Earth Black-Yellow Order, but the ancient desolate heaven realm that opens once every 1,000 years. On another mountain peak, the rapid airflow and cold wind caused a figure's clothes to flutter. It was a young man with a pale face. There was a hint of ruthlessness between his brows. He looked at the center of the poisonous dragon lake like the dreamy cloud swamp with a cruel smile on his face. Chapter 648. The illusory white mist covered the sky and the earth, as if it would never dissipate for thousands of years, gathering between the peaks and streams of the poisonous dragon lake. The red-winged black eagle and the Serene evil dragon beast carried everyone and flew side by side, shuttling through the white mist like a sharp arrow. Compared to the periphery, the closer they were to the center of the poisonous dragon lake, the more obstacles they encountered. In addition to the water demon beasts that flew up into the sky from time to time, there were also many strange flying demon beasts in the white mist. However, for Chu Hen, Danjun, and the others, it was not a big problem. As long as they paid a little attention, they could easily solve these small problems. It seems that we are early. Chi-Tung glanced around and found that they were the only team in the whole area. It seemed that the others had not arrived yet, or they were blocked by the ancient piranhas in the periphery. I don't know if we can find the Heaven and Earth Yellow Order, Lu Chi said hesitantly. Oh, of course we can. Hua Shui blinked her big eyes and smiled sweetly. Girls who like to smile are always lucky, like me. Chi-Tung glanced at her. That's because people with bad luck can't smile. Uffed. Ha! The truth. Everyone was immediately amused by Chi-Tung's words, and the tense atmosphere immediately became a lot more relaxed. Chu-Hen also smiled and shook his head speechlessly. However, at this moment, Dan Jun, who was on the red-winged Black Eagle, stood up and said with a hint of warning in her deep voice, "We are here, be careful." Everyone was slightly startled. They quickly put away their playful thoughts and stood up one after another. Dan Jun casually took out the topographic map that she got from old Lou, looked at it carefully, and pointed at a deep pool in front of them, and said, "That's it." Following the direction that she pointed, a steep pool gradually appeared in front of everyone's eyes. The terrain of the pool was very special. It was surrounded by high and steep mountains, and the center seemed to be hollowed out, with clear water and light smoke curling up, like a fairyland in a painting. Half of the area was rocky land, and the other half was clear water. Looking from afar, there was a naturally formed huge karst cave within the mountain wall, behind the deep pool. The pitch-black entrance of the cave gave off a mysterious aura, causing one to be cautious. Immediately, everyone rode their demonic beasts and flew directly into the deep pool and landed on a rocky land. As soon as they landed, everyone couldn't help but feel as if they were inside a volcano, surrounded by precipitous stone walls. Could he find the heaven and earth mystic yellow order here? This was what everyone was thinking at the moment. "Let's split up," Shanjun said in a deep voice. There were many natural karst caves here. Perhaps the thing they wanted was hidden in one of the caves. Chu-Hen immediately said, "Everyone be careful." Everyone nodded and immediately searched the surrounding karst caves. This was the most central area of the Poison Dragon Pond. Not a single demon beast could be seen in the surroundings, and it was abnormally quiet. The deathly silence made people feel uneasy. Chu-Hen's eyes turned cold as he walked straight to the other side of the pool. The water in the pool was clear, and the colorful pebbles at the bottom could be seen. The deeper they went, the deeper the pool became. After more than 20 meters, they could see a huge pit under the water. It looked like a dark secret passage that led to the Nine Hells. How deep was it? And where did it lead to? It made one's imagination run wild at this moment. Shanjun walked unhurriedly to Chu-Hen's side. She looked at him calmly and said, "If the heaven and earth mystic yellow order is still there, it should be hidden at the bottom of the deep pool." Chu-Hen raised his eyebrows slightly, and a trace of surprise flashed in his eyes. He replied calmly, "I'll go down and take a look." "Let me go instead." Shanjun stopped him. "After all, you have a sliver of a chance to become the sect master of Mount Kunliu. It's not very suitable for you to go down." Chu-Hen did not stand on ceremony. He just casually said, "Be careful." The corners of Dan Jun's mouth curled up slightly. Then, she leaped up and plunged into the pool like an arrow. She quickly disappeared into the dark and deep hole. Soon, the people from Mount Kunliu who were searching for the heaven and earth mystic yellow order in the surrounding caves returned one after another. Everyone returned empty-handed without any results. Chu-Hen was not too surprised by this result. The heaven and earth mystic yellow order was something that everyone in the world would go crazy for. How could it be found so easily? Where's senior brother Shanjun? Everyone looked at Chu-Hen, who was standing alone at the edge of the deep pool, and asked curiously. "Below." Chu-Hen pointed ahead. "Oh!" Everyone was startled. They gathered at the edge of the pool and looked at the pitch-black pit under the water. An oppressive feeling similar to the bottomless abyss at the bottom of the water surged into their hearts. The first feeling it gave them was that it was extremely deep. Boom! Suddenly, an earth-shaking explosion sounded. Along with a splash that soared into the sky, a monstrous wave suddenly rose from the pool. Everyone's expressions changed. Before they could react to what had happened, a drenched figure was suddenly sent flying. Bang! A loud sound rang out as the figure heavily collided with the stone wall. He fell to the ground and spat out a mouthful of blood. Senior brother Shanjun? Everyone turned pale with fright, and their faces revealed astonishment. Shanjun lay on the ground powerlessly. His voice was weak but it was extremely anxious. Go quickly, what? Boom. Roar. Before he finished speaking, an even more impassioned wave of water soared into the sky, accompanied by a deafening roar. Everyone felt the sky darken, the earth trembled, and the mountains shook. After that, a colossal creature directly exploded out of the deep pool. Mighty waves of air and water swept in all directions, stirring up incomparably violent, strong winds. The violent turbulence that was produced in this area was really like an earth exploding heavenly star. A dense and terrifying, ferocious aura surged down. Under everyone's trembling gaze, a giant beast that was 100 meters tall and 300 meters long roared towards the sky, emitting a shocking, ferocious aura. Beast King. Jishu's slightly trembling voice exploded in everyone's ears. It was an incomparably huge, ancient giant lizard. Its entire body was covered in extremely sturdy armor scales. Its foreclaws were huge, and there was even a pair of huge bone wings on its back. Dark Bone Lizard Dragon. Sulang's brows were tightly knitted together. A dense, solemn expression appeared on his face. The Dark-Bone Lizard Dragon was a level 1 Beast King. It was a terrifying existence that was comparable to a human powerhouse at the first level of the World Profound stage. Everyone's heart was filled with shock. There was really an evil dragon living in this poison dragon pool. Roar! The Dark-Bone Lizard Dragon's dark golden vertical pupils stared indifferently at Chu Hen and the others below. It raised its giant claws and slapped towards them. Spread out, Chu Hen shouted loudly. Without any hesitation, everyone quickly spread out like fireworks, leaving blurry black shadows in the air. Bang! The giant sharp claws heavily smashed on the ground. The terrifying impact directly caused countless deep cracks to appear on the ground. Rocks of all sizes were mixed with the mighty airwaves and spread out wantonly. Everyone was sent flying back from the impact, especially Lu Qi and Qi Tung, whose cultivation base was relatively weaker. They only felt the blood and energy in their bodies churning, and their faces immediately turned pale. This beast is really fierce. Qi Tung cursed. You guys go to Danjin's side, Chu Hen said. Then his body moved and shot out like a sharp arrow. His entire body erupted with a dense and powerful black light. Buzz, buzz. The surging black true origin energy rapidly gathered in Chu Hen's right arm. It was like a fist covered in black flames, directly facing the Dark-Bone Lizard Dragon's giant claws that swung again. Bang! When the two intersected, the space immediately erupted with a surging light pattern. Chu Hen's right fist collided with the opponent's giant claws head-on. The shocking scene was like the collision of a rock and a mountain. Countless true origin energy beams burst out in all directions, and the fierce and powerful airwaves caused the space to fall into bursts of distortion. At the same time that the violent force caused Chu Hen to fall back, the huge bone lizard dragon actually took a few steps back. Good. Su Lang and Ling Tao, the two geniuses of the Flying Immortal Palace, couldn't help but secretly applaud. With only a cultivation base of the 9th rank of the Void-Piercing Realm, he was able to compete with a level 1 Beast Emperor. The combat power that erupted from Chu Hen could not help but stabilize everyone's mind. It seems that we can fight, Su Lang said as he summoned a long sword. The long sword shook and immediately swallowed and spat out gorgeous cyan spirit patterns. Su Lang did not say anything and flashed to the left side of the bone lizard dragon, rolling up a strong attack power and slashing at the opponent's neck. Cyan light slash. Bang! The cyan sword light slashed down, creating a layer of vigorous airwaves in the air. Accompanied by an angry roar, dozens of scales fell from the place where the bone lizard dragon was hit, and traces of blood burst out. On the other side, Ling Tao also flew over the bone lizard dragon, and then his body spun rapidly like a racing lantern. Powerful true origin energy lingered outside his body, instantly forming a small golden tornado. The bottom of the tornado was particularly sharp. Ling Tao, who had transformed into a tornado, directly rushed down and hit the huge head of the bone lizard dragon like an electric drill. Hurricane drill. Boom! The terrifying impact was like a meteorite flying from the sky, firmly hitting the head of the bone lizard dragon. Intense true origin energy light patterns concentrated at one point, and a heavy loud sound caused the entire valley to shake. The bone lizard dragon's arrogant head was pressed down a bit. Su Lang and Ling Tao were the top geniuses of the flying immortal palace. Not only were the two of them in the upper ranks of Mount Kunliu, but they were also quick-witted and had rich combat experience. They knew how to make full use of their own advantages and the enemy's weaknesses to fully exert a powerful attack. However, the Darkbone Lizard Dragon was not to be trifled with. Chapter 649. The appearance of the Beast King Darkbone Lizard Dragon broke the silence of the poisonous dragon pool. Its ferocious and terrifying roar shook the heavens and the earth, piercing through the heavenly river. Chu Hen, Su Lang, and Ling Tao were the main attackers, while the others assisted from the side. They attacked the bone lizard dragon fiercely from all sides. Meanwhile, Lu Qi and Qi Teng, who were relatively weaker, returned to Danjun's side. "Senior brother Danjun, how are you?" Lu Qi asked in a low voice. Danjun covered his chest with one hand and sat sideways on the ground with difficulty breathing. He shook his head and said, "My lungs were injured by that beast." The two of them frowned. This was not good news for the whole team. "Let's wait and see. If they can't defeat this beast, we can only retreat," Danjun said as a trace of blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. Bang! Bang! The intense confrontation caused layers upon layers of beautiful airwave ripples to appear in the air. Chu Hen fought the bone lizard dragon head-on, while Su Lang and Ling Tao restrained it from the sides. Fu Qin and Nuo Qi protected Ji Shu and set up the runes. "Hua Shui, go treat senior brother Danjun's injuries." "Don't worry about this," Fu Qin said coldly. In the whole team, Chu Hen and Danjun were the most powerful. They could not lose Danjun no matter what Hua Shui nodded. "I understand." Hua Shui immediately left the battle area and returned to Danjun's side to check his injuries. However, Danjun pushed her away and said, "Don't worry about me. It's more important to deal with this beast, but I can still hold on for now. You work with Ji Shu to help them with the trapping and killing runes. This beast's attacks are extremely powerful. Even if you get hit by its claws, you might die. The only way is to limit its speed. We have more people. We can exhaust it to death." Danjun quickly analyzed the best battle plan. However, seeing the determined gaze of the other party, Hua Shui gritted her teeth. She took out an elixir and handed it to the other party before returning to the battle. "Senior brother Danjun, hold on for now." All sorts of brilliant and powerful martial skills bombarded the bone lizard dragon's body one after another. The huge force generated strong gales and huge waves. Roar! Even though everyone's battle prowess was abnormally strong, as a tyrannical existence of a beast king, the bone lizard dragon's strength was truly terrifying. Its huge bone wings flapped, and it actually leaped into the air. Its thick claws, which were dozens of meters wide, rapidly extended towards Chu Hen. An endless amount of red demonic energy quickly enveloped the other party's sharp claws, and an unstoppable and majestic aura surged forth, like the hand of a malevolent fiend god. Chu Hen's expression changed slightly. He did not dare to be careless. Buzz! He stretched out his left palm, and in an instant, a brilliant starlight bloomed. Under the violent energy might, the Big Dipper pattern faintly appeared on his palm. Chu Hen directly used the power of the Dubhe Star Soul Pearl. Silver light revolved around his body as he fearlessly charged forward, using his left hand to meet the huge claw of the bone lizard dragon. Bang! The two light figures, which were vastly different in size, fiercely clashed. The ground shook and the wind raged. The mighty aftershocks soared into the sky. The silver light and the red demonic energy wantonly intertwined together, releasing a sky-shaking wild wave. Sand and pebbles flew on the ground, and cracks appeared. Waves rose from the pool, stacking on top of each other. Chu Hen's body seemed exceptionally small in front of the bone lizard dragon, but when the two collided, the power that erupted from Chu Hen was like an incomparably sturdy boulder, and he once again withstood the other party's sure-kill attack. Light patterns became chaotic, and airwaves flew everywhere. An illusory half-arc barrier appeared in front of Chu Hen and the bone lizard dragon. The arcs of light intersected, squeezing the space and causing it to shake and distort. Su Lang, Ling Tao, Fu Qin, and the others were all pushed back nearly 100 meters by this powerful force. The others were still fine, but Su Lang and Ling Tao were shocked. If it was any one of them who was struck by the dark-bone lizard dragon's attack, they would probably be instantly blasted into pieces. However, Chu Hen was able to contend with it without being at a disadvantage. The other party's strength was unbelievable. As expected of the person chosen by sect leader Gong Yang, he's really fierce. Ling Tao gasped, shook his head, and exclaimed, "Roar!" However, it was also at this moment that another furious roar resounded. The ferocious Shi Yin evil dragon suddenly dashed out. It leaped into the air and unleashed an unparalleled ferocious aura. It opened its bloody mouth, and a cold aura gushed out. It then took the opportunity to bite the dark-bone lizard dragon's neck. Bang! The mountain-like impact directly knocked the dark-bone lizard dragon back to the ground. Its huge body heavily smashed into the ground, causing rocks and water to splash everywhere. The two ferocious giant beasts instantly began to crazily bite each other. Roar! Roar! The sharp teeth of the Shi Yin evil dragon pierced into the scales and flesh of the dark-bone lizard dragon like steel nails. The latter was enraged, and it struggled violently on the ground. Wow! This is a Shi Yin evil dragon with the bloodline of a beast king. Su Lang and Ling Tao looked at each other and saw the astonishment in each other's eyes. If it was an ordinary beast king, it would definitely not dare to act rashly in front of the dark-bone lizard dragon, let alone rush forward to fight it. Only demonic beasts of the same level would not fear the majesty of a beast king. Compared to the ferocious Shi Yin evil dragon, the scarlet-winged black eagle was much more timid. It was only a 7th-level beast king. Although it was also extremely aggressive, it did not dare to act rashly in the face of a battle between two beast kings. Of course, it cannot be blamed. Low-level bloodlines had an innate sense of reverence for high-level bloodlines. It was just like how ordinary people would feel when they saw an emperor. They would involuntarily be in awe. Roar! The furious roar shook everyone's eardrums. The Shi Yin evil dragon bit the neck of the dark-bone lizard dragon and refused to let go. However, before Chu Hen and the others could help again, a terrifying evil aura burst out from the body of the dark-bone lizard dragon. Roar! The powerful sound wave was ear-piercing. The body of the dark-bone lizard dragon released a gloomy dark red light. The domineering demonic power caused the scales on its body to swell. The dark-bone lizard dragon suddenly stood up. At the same time, a tide-like dark red light swept out from its body. The ground collapsed layer by layer, and the water in the lake was surging. With a muffled sound, the Shi Yin evil dragon was instantly sent flying. Like a huge sandbag, it heavily smashed into a stone pillar in the karst cave, and a large part of the stone wall was smashed. As for Su Lang, Ling Tao, Fu Qin, and the others, they were also shaken by the terrifying demonic power. Their blood surged, and their hearts beat faster. Everyone's expressions changed again. A genuine beast king and someone with the bloodline of a beast king were two completely different concepts. The dark-bone lizard dragon displayed its ferocious aura. At this moment, its huge body seemed to be covered with a layer of dark red armor. That is, the corner of Chu Hen's eyes suddenly narrowed. A wound in the middle of the bone wings on the back of the dark-bone lizard dragon attracted Chu Hen's attention. That wound was not a new one, but an old one that had not completely healed. Someone had been here before. In Chu Hen's mind, the ruthless and mysterious black-clothed man who killed everyone in Haitian City a few days ago suddenly appeared. Chapter 650. Was it left by that person? Looking at the old wound in the middle of the dark-boned lizard dragon's wings that had not completely healed, Chu Hen's heart skipped a beat. Two rays of light immediately shot out from his eyes. Shu, are you ready? Chu Hen shouted in a deep voice. Shu, who was standing on the other side, had a cold look in her eyes. Her red lips opened slightly. Yes, begin. Begin. As soon as she finished speaking, an extremely powerful Reiki energy fluctuation was suddenly released from Jishu's body. Her hands formed a series of complicated seals at an extremely fast speed. Buzz. In the next moment, a beautiful rune suddenly exploded on the ground. The dazzling runes connected with each other and immediately formed a huge rune array with a diameter of 100 feet. Tens of thousands of dazzling rays of light blossomed from the rune array like the radiance of the sun. Swoosh, swoosh. Immediately after, countless illusory white light rays actually flew out from the rune array below and quickly wrapped around the dark-boned lizard dragon's huge body and limbs. The white light rays were like extremely tough ribbons that could extend infinitely and wantonly wrap around the dark-boned lizard dragon's body. Roar! The dark-boned lizard dragon let out an angry roar. A rich dark red light covered the surface of its body like boiling water, emitting waves of light patterns that flickered between bright and dark. The extremely powerful giant claws continuously pushed the white light rays apart. After the white light rays were broken one after another, the white light rays quickly reconnected. In an instant, the dark-boned lizard dragon seemed to have fallen into a deep swamp. Its movements were immediately restricted and became extremely slow. Chu Hen, I can't hold on for long. Jishu's delicate eyebrows were tightly knitted and her voice was slightly trembling. The Reiki energy that lingered around her was very chaotic. Her arms swayed, and she could not hold on at any time. Roar! The dark-boned lizard dragon was furious like a volcano that was about to erupt. Its aura became stronger and stronger, and its ferocity became more and more furious. The beautiful rune array under its body flickered between bright and dark, sometimes strong and sometimes weak. Many light pattern runes were crushed and exploded, and the power of the rune array was rapidly weakening. However, in the next second, Chu Hen shot out like a bolt of lightning. Chu Hen instantly appeared on top of the dark-boned lizard dragon's back. He moved his palm, and with a whoosh sound, the limitless Fong, which was spitting out black light, appeared between his hands. Chu Hen's two hands tightly gripped the hilt of the blade, the sharp blade pointing straight down. Chi-chi! The densely packed power of black lightning quickly flew out and immediately extended along the blade. A dense aura of destruction spread out. With Chu Hen at the center, the airflow between the heavens and the earth became extremely chaotic. From afar, it seemed as if Chu Hen was holding an extremely powerful lightning pillar in his hands. Kill! Wind and thunder rolled, and thousands of birds cried. Chu Hen's figure moved, and he pressed down on the dark-boned lizard dragon in a graceful manner. At the same time, he raised his arms above his head, and a limitless tooth in his hands emitted a dark, lightning glow. The heavens and earth suddenly darkened. Clang! Thunder roared as the limitless tooth, which was like a lightning pillar, pierced into the old wound in the middle of the dark-boned lizard dragon's wings. Boom! A loud noise shook the sky, and dark lightning blossomed. The incomparably violent dark lightning energy completely erupted from Chu Hen's body. The dark lightning pillar in his hand rapidly expanded and instantly turned into a black lightning pillar that was over 100 meters tall. Bang! A string of blood splattered in the sky. Under the shocked gazes of Su Lang, Ling Tao, Fu Qin, and the others, the black lightning pillar in Chu Hen's hand was like a divine sword that pierced through the dark-boned lizard dragon's enormous body, from its back to its chest. Roar! A mournful roar echoed throughout the entire poison dragon pool. The bone lizard dragon howled at the sky, and it was extremely furious. The huge dark lightning pillar pierced through its body, and swept out from its chest. Its aura was astonishing. Chu Hen tightly gripped the black saber inside the lightning pillar, and an endless stream of dark lightning energy surged out from his body. He was like a god of war fighting an ancient ferocious beast. Then, two rays of cold light flickered in Chu Hen's eyes, and an even more powerful monstrous aura was released from his body. Dark Lightning Blade. Chi. The sharp aura shook the heavens and earth. In an instant, the limitless tooth once again shone brilliantly, and countless terrifying dark lightning poured into the bone lizard dragon's body. In the next instant, numerous wounds rapidly opened up on the bone lizard dragon's back. The ground, which was like a dried-up riverbed, cracked and split open. The scales on the bone lizard dragon's body shattered inch by inch, and a rain of blood sprayed out. Broken internal organs continuously spilled out from the wounds. Everyone present turned pale with fright, and they were extremely astonished. Even Shan Jun, who was outside the battle, could not help but narrow his eyes. Shock surged on his face. Although he had never looked down on Chu Hen, he did not expect that he had still underestimated his strength. On the other hand, Qi Teng, Fu Qin, Hua Shui, and the others were excited and secretly cheered in their hearts. The dark-bone lizard dragon launched its final struggle after suffering several fatal injuries. Roar! A deafening roar rang out, and a terrifying demonic energy erupted like a volcano, directly bursting out from the wounds on the dark-bone lizard dragon's back. Boom! The sky turned dark, and the earth trembled. The talisman array on the ground was directly crushed into pieces, and a huge, blood-colored light pillar soared into the sky from its back. A majestic shock wave spread out in all directions. Bang! With an explosive sound, Chu Hen's body trembled, and he was sent flying by the violent shock wave. The blood-red, demonic power swept out in a sweeping manner. A thick layer of the rocks on the ground was shaken off, and the water in the pool was stirred up hundreds of feet-high waves. Even the surrounding majestic mountain walls were shaken to the point that winding and rugged stone cracks appeared. The chaotic shock wave set off a fierce gale that rushed toward everyone. Everyone quickly retreated to avoid being injured by the shock wave. Roar! The dark-bone lizard dragon swayed its huge body, and its vertical dark golden eyes stared at the surrounding people with hatred and unwillingness. Then it staggered a few steps, and its hundreds of feet-long body fell to the ground powerlessly. Its huge head tilted, and it did not move at all. The Beast King, the dark-bone lizard dragon, was dead. Phew! Looking at the dark-bone lizard dragon's lifeless body, everyone heaved a sigh of relief. Finally, this big problem was solved without any mishaps. Chu Hen, how are you? Are you all right? Hua Shui, Ji Shu, and the others hurried to the side of Chu Hen, who had been shaken back hundreds of meters. There was a trace of blood at the corner of Chu Hen's mouth, but his aura was still as calm as before. The dark-bone lizard dragon had used all its strength before its death, and no matter how strong Chu Hen's body was, it was impossible for him to be unharmed. I'm fine, just a small injury. Chu Hen nodded slightly and said, Hurry up and take this. Hua Shui, who was in charge of medical treatment, immediately took out a round pill and fed it to him. On the other side, Su Lang and Ling Tao were still astonished in their hearts. In reality, from the moment they set off from Mount Kunlu, the two of them were not convinced of Chu Hen's strength. They were even unwilling to assist him. This could be seen from their interactions on the way here. The two of them had directly listened to Dan Jun's commands and had not said a single word to Chu Hen. Now, the two of them had no choice but to change their previous opinions. Whether it was judgment, commanding, or cultivation, Chu Hen had far surpassed their imaginations. If it had been Dan Jun herself, she might not have been able to kill the dark-bone lizard dragon so cleanly. Using the old wound on the dark-bone lizard dragon's body to deliver a fatal blow had sufficiently reduced the team's risks and losses to the minimum. Senior Brother Dan Jun, let me check your injuries. After seeing that Chu Hen was fine, Hua Shui returned to Dan Jun's side. The latter nodded, then shakily stood up with Qi Teng's support. Hua Shui frowned slightly when she saw him like this. You can't even stand properly? Don't tell me your internal organs are injured. This is going to be troublesome. As soon as she finished speaking, a strong gust of cold wind suddenly blew towards them, accompanied by the sound of rushing wind. More than 20 swift and fierce figures appeared in the sky without any warning. Ha ha! Thank you everyone for helping us get rid of this beast. Everyone was greatly shocked, and the heartstrings that they had just relaxed tensed up again. Chapter 651. The mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. Thank you, everyone, for helping us to get rid of this beast. Laughter filled with ridicule and disdain suddenly rang in everyone's ears. Everyone on Mount Kunliu's side was greatly shocked. Their hearts, which had just relaxed, tightened once again. In an instant, along with many hurried, wind-breaking movements, more than 20 swift and fierce figures suddenly appeared in the void. Everyone's eyes turned cold. Su Lang and Ling Tao clenched their fists tightly. The former's throat moved as he stared coldly at the man in black, who was the leader. Yu Song, Blood Refining Hall Yu Song? Fu Qin, Hua Shui, and the other three's expressions also changed. Chu Hen frowned slightly, and his eyes revealed some surprise. He did not know what Blood Refining Hall was, but from the aura that these people emitted, he could tell that they were not good people. Blood Refining Hall and Mount Kunliu are mortal enemies. No matter what they want to do, don't show them any mercy later. Fu Qin leaned to the side and whispered to Chu Hen. Chu Hen nodded slightly. This young man, named Yu Song's cultivation, was probably similar to Danjun's. If it was a one-on-one fight, Chu Hen was not afraid of him. However, the other side had more than 20 experts with extraordinary cultivation. In terms of numbers, they were at a great disadvantage. Moreover, the battle with the dark-bone lizard dragon had consumed a lot of his vital energy. It could be said that the current situation was a little tricky. A piercingly cold feeling swept down. Yusong's pale face revealed a fierce look. He smiled mockingly at the people from Mount Kunliu, and his gaze finally fell on Danjun. Hey, senior brother Danjun, it seems like you're injured. Danjun's eyes revealed 2 rays of cold light. He said coldly, Yu Song, it's been a long time since we last met. You still like to do such sneaky things? It's been a long time since we last met. You're still so arrogant and conceited. You're about to die, yet you still dare to be so smug. Yu Song looked down with a face full of contempt. He said frivolously, Hand over the heaven and earth black yellow order. I can leave your corpses intact. Heaven and earth black yellow order? Su Lang, Chu Hen, and the others also looked at Danjun. If not for the other party mentioning it, everyone would have forgotten about this matter. The appearance of the dark-bone lizard dragon was too unexpected, and no one had the chance to ask about it. However, Danjun showed some disdain for the oppression emitted by the masters of the Blood Refining Hall. If you want the heaven and earth black and yellow token, come and get it if you have the ability. However, let me give you a piece of advice. All of you will die. The last 3 words were unusually heavy and clear. Humph, you're still putting on an act at a time like this. Yusong's eyes turned cold. He was not intimidated by Shanjun at all. Even during normal times, he was not afraid of Shanjun, let alone now that she was seriously injured. In his opinion, she was obviously trying to trick him. A paper tiger, easily broken with a single poke. Do it. Kill them all. Yes. As soon as he finished his words, all the people of the Blood Refining Hall burst out a strong, murderous aura. Their momentum was ferocious, and they rushed to the people of Mount Kunliu like tigers and wolves. As soon as the opponent started to take action, Shanjun's eyes obviously flashed a trace of panic. However, looking at the change of Shanjun's expression, Yu Song was even more complacent. As expected, she was pretending to be calm. It was really a child's play. It was really ridiculous. Protect senior brother Shanjun. Kill. Su Lang and Ling Tao did not hesitate to launch a frontal attack. Chu Hen also followed closely. The furious dark thunder quickly jumped on the blade of the limitless Fong and swung out. Clang! With a loud sound, 100 meters wide thunder and lightning saber light swept out and directly shook several masters of the Blood Refining Hall to step back. Dozens of fierce figures suddenly intersected and started a fierce scuffle. Among them, 3 masters of the blood refining hall with a sinister face rushed directly to Shan Jun, dragging a vigorous airwave in the void. Hee, Shan Jun, you could die with peace of mind. The one rushing in the front was a man with a big saber in his hand. With a ferocious smile on his ferocious face, he raised the saber with both hands and chopped down at Shan Jun, who could not move at all. Qi Teng and Lu Qi, who were responsible for protecting Shan Jun before, were completely suppressed by the opponent's saber momentum and could not move at all. As a medical spiritual tattooist, Hua Shui also could not resist this person's attack. Buzz, the brilliant white saber light bloomed, and the airflow between heaven and earth rotated rapidly. This saber seemed to be able to split Shan Jun into 2 halves. Senior brother Shan Jun, Su Lang, Ling Tao, and others turned pale with fright and anger. However, at this critical moment, the panic in Shan Jun's eyes suddenly turned into the sharpness and keenness of an eagle. His cold eyes reflected the cold gleam of the blade, and there was no fear in them. Rhino finger force. Phew! Shan Jun quickly stretched out the middle finger and index finger of his right hand. The 2 fingers emitted a solid golden light, and the extremely restless hidden force distorted the space. Bang! Accompanied by a thunderous sound, a circle of surging golden light patterns swept out vertically. Dan Jun's fingers, which were surrounded by golden light, accurately touched the edge of her opponent's blade. What? Everyone was extremely astounded. In the next moment, a hidden force that was as powerful as an undercurrent in the deep sea poured out. With a bang, the man was sent flying along with the broadsword in his hand. Large mouthfuls of blood gushed out of his mouth as he heavily fell to the ground. His head tilted to one side, and with a muffled sound, he no longer moved. You? The other 2 masters of the blood, refining hall, who followed the man with the saber, were greatly shocked. What happened? Wasn't Shan Jun injured? Why was he still so powerful? Before the 2 of them could react, a burst of cold air rushed over, and Dan Jun instantly disappeared from where she was standing, flashing in front of them like a ghost. Oh no! The 2 were shocked and hurriedly retreated. However, Shan Jun's speed was incomparable to theirs. Buzz! The sound of the airwave trembling was like a tsunami. Shan Jun stretched out his palms, and his left and right palms patted on the collarbones below the necks of the 2 men respectively. Bang! The dull sound overlapped. The horrible palm strength was like a stormy wave. The 2 masters of the blood refining hall who were hit immediately had their sternum broken and their lungs ruptured. Scarlet blood directly spat out from their mouths, and they screamed miserably. Then they died on the spot. In an instant, he killed 3 people with a thunderous momentum. Shan Jun's power was monstrous. His eyes were like torches, and he showed a heroic demeanor between his eyebrows. There was no sign of decadence and weakness just now. Senior brother Shan Jun, everyone on Mount Kunliu was dumbfounded. Each and every one of them was astonished. Even Chu Hen's face revealed some faint shock as he muttered to himself. So it is indeed like this shock. Absolute shock. Shan Jun actually pretended to be injured. But what was the purpose of all this? The people of the blood refining hall in the void were even more shocked and angry. Especially Yu Song. His eyes were full of fierceness. You dog, even I screech. But before Yu Song finished his words, an eagle's cry that stirred the heaven and earth and shook the sky swept over. Together with the endless dangerous aura, Yu Song's face changed dramatically. Before he could make any defense, a bright golden streamer penetrated the clouds and mist, like a streamer flying back thousands of years, and accurately hit Yu Song's body. Bang! Ah! Screams piled up and blood rained down. The surging light pattern bloomed in the void, and an almost complete right arm flew out. Yu Song hurriedly retreated to the side. Anger and disbelief filled his whole face. His whole right arm was cut off in an instant. Screech! Then, the bright golden light shadow immediately appeared and circled above the void. It was actually a male eagle with golden claws and a golden beak, and its feathers were as bright as jade. It was the golden claw eagle. Shock surged in everyone's heart again. When they arrived at the poisonous dragon lake, the golden claw eagle came to find Shanjun. Could it be that time? The people of Mount Kunliu were both surprised and amazed. At this time, Shanjun's face already showed a wicked smile. Chapter 652. I was waiting for you, Yu Song. A cold voice was spat out. 2 rays of cold light shot out from Danjun's eyes. Blood Forger Hall Yu Song's pupils constricted violently. He suddenly felt as if he had fallen into an ice cave. The arm that was broken by the golden claw heavenly eagle was in extreme pain. How? How is this possible? Huh? The corner of Danjun's mouth curled into a cold arc. He stared indifferently at Yu Song's pale face. From the moment we just entered the poison dragon pool, I already knew that all of you were here. Those corpse beetles and killer bees were also your doing, right? Yu Song's expression changed again and again, receiving the gaze that Danjun revealed. It was like 2 sharp swords, directly seeing through everything about him. He originally wanted to be the Oriole, did not expect to fall into the trap of the hunter. At this moment, Yu Song suddenly came to a realization. From the beginning, he had stepped into the trap that Danjun had set, step by step. And Danjun not only tricked Yu Song, he even tricked all of his companions. And it was precisely because of this that the Blood Forger Hall people deeply believed that he was heavily injured. This was a game of wits. Very obviously, Danjun was the winning side. Yu Song's realization was already too late. At this moment, there was only one thought in his mind, and that was to retreat. However, Danjun's eyelids quietly lifted. Between his brows revealed a sense of arrogance. He said, "You should pay for your stupidity. Kill! Kill!" Just as he finished speaking, the golden claw heavenly eagle, circling in the void, shot out like an arrow leaving the bow. The spiritual energy between heaven and earth stirred up a strong rhythm. Screech! The eagle soared into the sky, its cry piercing the sky. 2 rays of sharp light burst out from the golden claw heavenly eagle's eyes. The jade feathers all over its body shone brightly. The beautiful light patterns spiraled in the void, creating an incomparably vigorous wave of air. The mountain-like powerful force pressed down all the way. Yu Song was horrified. His contracted pupils were filled with deep fear. Retreat! Without another word, Yu Song turned and fled. The Blood Forger Hall disciples were also shocked. However, from the moment Yu Song and the rest stepped into this place, the ending was already decided. After losing an arm, Yu Song lost his ability to make accurate judgments. Just a second ago, the golden claw heavenly eagle suddenly sped up and turned into a dazzling golden light. It tore through the air and struck Yu Song's body with the momentum of a meteor chasing after the moon. A terrifying destructive force poured down. Bang! A muffled sound rang out, accompanied by a miserable shriek. Yu Song's body was directly torn apart in the sky. Blood splattered all over the sky, and severed limbs bloomed like misty rain. Senior brother Yu Song, everyone in Blood Forger Hall was terrified to the extreme. Each and every one of them were so frightened that their faces were ashen, as white as paper. With Yu Song's death, the last line of defense in their hearts collapsed. Following that, Su Lang, Ling Tao, Fu Qin, and Nongqi all unleashed their powerful auras and threw themselves into the battle without any hesitation. Boom! Hiss! Sword shadows crisscrossed, true energy stacked up. Powerful martial skills continuously bombarded the Blood Forger Hall disciples who were in a panic. They, who had lost their will to fight, had no ability to resist at all. They retreated to the border and only cared about turning around to escape. However, in this situation, escaping also meant death. Mount Kunliu and Blood Forger Hall were archenemies. Su Lang, Ling Tao, and the rest did not show any mercy, harvesting the enemy's life like the god of death. Chu Hen stood at the same place and did not make a move. The situation had been decided, and if he made a move, it would only speed up the pace. Needless to say, Chu Hen somewhat admired Danjun. It was indeed a correct choice for Chi Hanyu of the Flying Celestial Hall to ask him to help him. Just based on his intelligence, he was worthy of the title of the Flying Celestial Hall's #1. Corpses dripping with blood fell from the sky one after another, smashing into a bloody mess. Not long after, all the Bloodforger Hall's experts died in the toxic dragon pool. Everyone landed one after another and gathered at Chu Hen and Danjun. Senior brother Danjun, you're really good at pretending. Even we were fooled by you. It's a pity that you didn't become an actor. Hua Shui rushed forward and said. Danjun knocked her head casually. Are you praising me or mocking me? Of course I'm praising you, Hua Shui touched her head with both hands and smiled mischievously. Fooled all of you? That's not necessarily. Danjun looked back at Chu Hen, who was not far away, and said. Chu Hen smiled. I'm just suspecting, not sure. That's enough. A hint of approval flashed through Danjun's eyes. By the way, senior brother Danjun, did you really not get the heaven and earth black and yellow order? Fu Qin asked the question that everyone was most concerned about. Danjun shook his head without hesitation. No, I'm afraid that the man in black who killed old man Lu has gotten it first. Chu Hen nodded in agreement. Someone did come before us. Then we came here in vain. Hua Shui couldn't help but pout her little mouth with a disappointed expression. Not necessarily, Danjun replied. Oh, everyone was stunned. The next moment, the golden-clawed heavenly eagle descended from the sky. It drew a beautiful arc in the void and swooped down to land on Danjun's shoulder. Although this golden-clawed heavenly eagle was not much bigger than an ordinary eagle, the aura it exuded was comparable to a beast emperor. It lowered its head and spat a jade-colored storage ring into Danjun's palm. What's this? Hua Shui asked. Yusong's storage device. The few of them were stunned again. It seemed like the golden-clawed heavenly eagle had picked it up when Yusong was killed. Danjun's divine consciousness entered the storage ring. After a while, a white light flashed, and 2 neatly folded sheepskin scrolls appeared in his palm. Everyone's eyes lit up and stared at the 2 sheepskin scrolls with anticipation. This is the topographic map of the Poison Dragon Pool. Danjun opened the first scroll and threw it on the ground after glancing at it. Then he opened the second scroll and saw that it was another topographic map, Fengxiang Origin. Danjun's eyes lit up. Obviously, this was the other area where the Heaven and Earth Black Yellow Order was issued. The Fengxiang Origin is quite close to here. One day is enough, Su Lang said with surprise. There's no time to lose. Let's go now. With the lesson from before, everyone didn't plan to delay any longer. The sooner they got to the wind-soaring origin, the better. However, at this moment, everyone realized that Shi Yan's evil dragon had disappeared. Where's that big guy? Lu Qi looked around in confusion. Over there. Qi Tong pointed at a place near the pool. Everyone turned around to look. It would have been fine if they didn't look, but once they saw the scene in front of them, they immediately jumped in fright. Even Chu Hen was a bit dumbfounded. Shi Yan's evil dragon was currently beside the dark-bone lizard dragon. What surprised everyone was that Shi Yan's evil dragon was actually eating the dark-bone lizard dragon's body. Is that guy crazy? Why does he hate it so much? He wants to eat its body even when it's dead. Hua Shui held her face with her small hands and exclaimed in fear. Roar! Shi Yan's evil dragon let out a deep roar. Its mouth was full of sharp teeth, biting the dark-bone lizard dragon's torso. Chunks of flesh and blood were swallowed into its belly. Scarlet blood splashed between its sharp teeth, making it look extremely bloody. Everyone seemed to be confused about Shi Yan's evil dragon's behavior. Jishu opened her red lips and explained, Some demon beasts have the ability to refine and absorb other demon beasts' blood essence. Shi Yan's evil dragon probably wants to swallow the dark-bone lizard dragon's king blood essence to strengthen itself. This kind of phenomenon is not particularly rare among demon beasts. I see. Everyone nodded. If that's the case, let's wait a little longer. Danjun said. Shi Yan's evil dragon's eating speed was very fast. Large pieces of flesh left the dark-bone lizard dragon's body and entered its stomach. Soon, a large area of white bones appeared on the dark-bone lizard dragon's body. This scene could be described as creepy. Is this guy the reincarnation of a hungry ghost? It's still not full after eating so much. Hua Shui was a little impatient. It had been half an hour, but Shi Yan's evil dragon didn't seem to want to stop. Instead, it was eating more and more vigorously. Almost 1 hour had passed. Shi Yan's evil dragon finally stopped eating. The poor dark-boned lizard dragon's body couldn't even be preserved after its death. 2/3 of its body had been swallowed, which was simply unbearable to look at. Roar! After being satisfied, Shi Yan's evil dragon looked up to the sky and roared, emitting a ferocious roar that could shake the heaven and earth. Vigorous waves of wind swept out in all directions, revealing the powerful bloodline of the king of beasts. Everyone was surprised to find that Shi Yan's evil dragon's body was faintly diffusing a layer of red light. The light was bright and dark, sometimes strong and sometimes weak, which was a sign that it was about to have a breakthrough. Even so, Chu Hen didn't plan to wait for it to have a breakthrough. Being delayed for 1 hour meant that they had fallen behind the others. If they were delayed again, the Heaven and Earth Yellow Order at the Flying Wind origin would most likely be taken by others. "Let's go," Chu Hen said in a low voice. Immediately, everyone jumped on the back of the red-winged black eagle and Shi Yan's evil dragon. With a burst of wild wind, the two giant beasts rose to the sky and left the poisonous dragon pool behind without any reluctance. This was just the beginning, but they had already encountered the black-clothed men of the Haitian city, the king of the poisonous dragon pool, and the enemies of the blood-refining hall. It had to be said that the difficulty of collecting the Heaven and Earth Yellow Order was much greater than what Chu Hen had imagined. What kind of opponents would they encounter later? No one dared to conclude. Chapter 653. The Origin of Flying Wind. After flying for less than a day, Chu Hen, Dan Zhun, and the others arrived at this place. What greeted his eyes was an extremely majestic scene. In the depths of the incomparably vast mountain range was a vast plain. What was even more surprising was that at this moment, there were countless demonic beasts gathered on the vast plains. Roar! Screech! Many demon beasts gathered together, forming a dark beast tide. Tens of thousands of demon beasts seemed to have been summoned by some kind of god, and they rushed towards the deeper region of the wind's soaring source. What's going on? Where did so many demon beasts come from? Qi Teng, Lu Qi, and the others looked at the chaotic area in front of them in surprise. The origin of Flying Wind is a mountain of demon beasts, Su Lang explained. He paused and then continued. But it's rare to see such a chaotic scene like today. It should be related to the Heaven and Earth Mystic Yellow Order. Ling Tao replied. The corners of everyone's eyes couldn't help but narrow slightly, and a trace of caution faintly surged into their hearts. It would be more and more difficult to collect the Heaven and Earth Mystic Yellow Order. What would they encounter later? No one dared to let their guard down. Roar! Although there were many demon beasts in front of them, the bloodline of the Beast King from the evil dragon beast was very intimidating. The demon beasts of all sizes were scared and gave way. No one dared to stop them. In next to no time, Chu Hen's group went deep into the inner area of the soaring wind origin. Everyone felt as if they'd broken into the lair of demon beasts. Everywhere their eyes passed, there were all sorts of strange demon beasts, and they were vast and mighty, as if they were an army of fierce beasts that had trampled over the mountains and rivers. Look ahead. Nong Chi's surprised voice attracted everyone's attention in the same direction. In the sky of the area more than 10 miles ahead, black waves were surging. The surging clouds covered the sky as if a storm was coming. Under the dusky sky, there was an incomparably huge, semicircular screen of light. The light curtain was an illusory, silver-gray color. It was like a huge walk covering the area below. It was so long that it spanned thousands of meters. It's a barrier, Fu Qin said coldly. A barrier. There was a seal that isolated the inside from the outside world, and no one from the inside could leave, and no one from the outside could enter. From this, it could be seen that there were other mysteries within. Chu Hen's eyes slightly congealed. Looking over, he saw that within the gigantic barrier of light, there was actually a vast an imposing ancient city with rows upon rows of tall walls. The ancient city looked very strange. Although the desolate buildings were quite old, they still had quite a bit of grandeur. "What is that place?" Chu Hen asked in a deep voice. Su Lang and Ling Tao shook their heads, indicating that they were not too sure either. On the side, Ji Shu hesitated for a moment, then softly said, "I've heard people say that there is an ancient city in the wind-soaring origin. The residents of the ancient city have beasts as their companions. But because they are isolated from the world, and no outsiders are willing to come to the wind-soaring origin, so the population of the ancient city became smaller and smaller, and finally became an empty city." Jishu lifted her beautiful eyes and looked at the side of Chu Hen's face. She said, "I used to think that it was just a story that was spread around the outside world. I didn't expect it to be true. Companions with demonic beasts? How they do it?" Chi Tung asked in confusion. Although the Hundred Kingdoms region's heavenly beast sect could also train demonic beasts and cooperate with them in battle, but they basically brought the cubs of the demonic beast back to be tamed. In other words, they suppressed their bestial nature and made them submit. But it was different here. The number of demonic beasts in the wind-soaring origin could be said to be in the tens of thousands. This was equivalent to living in the middle of a herd of demonic beasts. Any wave of demonic beasts would be able to take the people here and flatten the ancient city. However, looking from afar, the ancient city in front of them was still well preserved. Although the buildings were old, they did not suffer too much damage. If it was only by relying on the barrier, it would not be able to last until now. "I'm not too sure about that." Jishu shook her head. It was true that she was knowledgeable. Although she knew a lot, she did not know everything. Could the heaven and earth yellow order be in the ancient city? This question emerged in everyone's heart. "Let's go." Chu Hen's eyes flashed with a biting cold light. The closer they got to the ancient city, the more chaotic the area became. The stronger the demonic beasts they encountered were. Then, Chu Hen and the others also discovered that in addition to all kinds of barbaric demonic beasts, there were also many powerful humans. Wu Xiao, with the ancient city as the center, fierce battles broke out in all directions. Demonic beasts fought against demonic beasts. Humans and demonic beasts fought against each other. In the fierce battle between humans and humans, all kinds of forces fought against each other, causing the sky to darken and the earth to change color. Raging gales swept in all directions, startling everyone. Chaos. How could the word chaos be enough to describe it? In the direction of the southern side of the ancient city, a man with messy hair, a tall and sturdy body, dressed in animal skin, was slaughtering the demonic beasts. The weapon in his hand was a sharp death scythe. The long and narrow blade glimmered with a cold light. The handle of the scythe was very long, more than 2 meters long. When it was swung, it emitted an endless aura of death. Every time the man killed a powerful demonic beast, he seemed to be unusually excited. His fierce eyes were filled with joy. It was as though killing was a great pleasure to him. "It's a powerhouse from the Fong clan." Su Lang frowned slightly. There was a hint of fear in his eyes. The Fong clan? Apart from Dan Jun, the others' expressions changed. However, Chu Hen had a puzzled look on his face. "What kind of clan is the Fong clan?" "It's a clan that has the appearance of a human, but the heart of a beast. They possess the boundary of the Fong clan's bloodline, which allows their physical strength to be comparable to powerful demonic beasts. The people of the Fong clan are bloodthirsty, and their methods are extremely cruel. Most of the time, people don't see them as humans, but as beasts, the appearance of a human, but the heart of a beast. One could imagine how disliked the people of the Fong clan was in the eyes of the people. Apart from that, people were also afraid of the Fong clan. After all, no one was willing to deal with a group of cold-blooded beasts." Boom! Meanwhile, on the other side, a human man in white was fighting almost 10 powerhouses with extraordinary cultivation base alone. The strength of the man was not inferior to the powerhouse from the Fong clan at all. Although they were far away, the people on Mount Kuan Lu could still clearly feel the coldness from the man's body. A bunch of trash dares to speak in front of me. Qilian Chong? How stupid. The moment his words left his mouth, a powerful gray light erupted from the white-clad man's body immediately. Dense Inchi surged out of his body. Crimson snake hand. Whoosh! The moment his words left his mouth, the white-clad man's palms suddenly flew out. His arms suddenly expanded in an extremely strange manner and transformed into dozens of strong, poisonous pythons. Hiss! Hiss! The poisonous pythons moved like lightning and pierced through the chests of a few human powerhouses in front of them. What? The group of people surrounding him turned pale with fright and anger. The eyes of the young man in the lead were scarlet red. His body's true essence rose like flames as he roared. Qilian Chong, I'll kill you. However, in the next second, a black shadow flashed past his face. Before the man could even react, a poisonous python had already circled behind him. The snake opened its mouth, and two sharp fangs directly pierced through his true Yuan defense layer. The fangs pierced deeply into his flesh, and a burning pain began to spread. Then a deep black poison quickly spread through his body. From the back of his neck, as the center, his skin quickly turned dark purple. What followed was a stiff and numb body. The young man was like a bird with broken wings, falling straight from the sky. Roar! Below, a large demon beast with a crocodile's body and a dog's head flew up. It opened its bloody mouth and directly caught the falling man in its mouth. With a bite of its sharp teeth, a rain of blood and a miserable scream rang out. The man's body was immediately torn into pieces. That person is so scary. Hua Shui, who was watching from afar, subconsciously shrank behind Chu Hen. This time, even Shan Zhen could not help but frown. She said in a deep voice, "Even the Heavenly Serpent Clan's Qi Lianchong is here." Since Shan Zhen was like this, the expressions of the others became even more serious. Heavenly Serpent Clan. The corner of Chu Hen's eyes flashed with surprise as he murmured softly. The Heavenly Serpent Clan's bloodline boundary is very strong. In the Xian body level, it is ranked relatively high. It is said that if the Heavenly Serpent Xian body is used to the extreme, it can compete with the Saint body bloodline. Jishu explained to Chu Hen. One was from the Liao clan, and the other was from the Heavenly Serpent clan. Just like that, two experts who had reached the profound world realm had appeared. If it was only one of them, it would be easier to deal with. Two profound world realm experts were relatively more difficult to deal with. Moreover, in addition to them, there were also many powerful auras nearby. Under such circumstances, even if they found the Heaven and Earth Black-Yellow Order, it would be extremely difficult to take it away. Once again, everyone felt a headache about this difficult task. Difficult. It was really too difficult. Don't be discouraged. Chu Hen slightly raised his eyelids. It's still too early to say anything. Everything depends on the situation. No matter what, safety first. Chu Hen would never reveal the true thoughts in his heart, especially in this kind of chaotic situation. Relying on the Sure Yin evil dragon and the scarlet-winged black eagle, everyone quickly shuttled through the huge group of demon beasts. From time to time, a few demon beasts would rush over, but they would be killed on the spot. Soon, everyone was less than a kilometer away from the ancient city. Chapter 654. Bang! Bang! A series of heavy sounds reverberated in the world. The scene presented by the source of flying wind could be described as a group of demons dancing wildly. The battle between humans and demonic beasts was incomparably fierce, with sparks flying everywhere. Among them, the most eye-catching was the powerful aura of the two great profound world realm experts of the Liao clan and the Heavenly Serpent clan. Approaching the ancient city, the scene reflected in front of Chu Hen, Danjun, and the others once again made them feel astonished. They saw that the innumerable waves of demonic beasts were actually attacking the huge semicircular light curtain that shrouded the ancient city. Bang! All kinds of huge, strange-looking demonic beasts were like giant siege beasts, constantly attacking the light curtain. The violent power was like a meteor flying from the sky. The powerful impact caused the light curtain to shake uneasily. It looked like a layer of light curtain. Woo! A giant lava beast that was hundreds of feet tall raised its arms and fiercely smashed on the light curtain. Bang! A layer of twisted ripples quickly swept out, and the light curtain suddenly sank a little. But then, the sunken part slowly rose at a speed visible to the naked eye. Screech. A thunderbird covered with silver electric arcs pierced through the clouds and the wind. Thousands of lightning bolts bloomed from its body, and the dazzling lightning converged and turned into an electric pillar that was hundreds of feet tall. Its momentum was graceful, and it shot down vertically, emitting an endless destructive aura, and firmly hit the light curtain. Rumble! The electric light crisscrossed, and sparks flew. Together with the deafening sound, the dazzling lightning shot up into the sky like a rain of fireworks, blooming between heaven and earth. Dense electric arcs flowed up and down, spreading in all directions of the light curtain, gorgeous and colorful, like a lightning snake. Witnessing the situation in front of them, Chu Hen and the others were very surprised. Was this the reason why the demonic beasts gathered here? Their goal was the ancient city inside. What exactly was inside? Why were they so crazy about it? The power of a demonic beast was negligible, and the impact it caused to the barrier was negligible. And there were at least tens of thousands of demonic beasts gathered here. Their combined strength was absolutely terrifying. Every time, 10,000 attacks would fall at the same time. The light barrier would tremble greatly, and the surrounding space would also form a rhythm. Bang! Bang! The raindrop-like impact stirred waves of loud, thunder-like sounds. With the flow of time, the originally bright and solid light barrier gradually dimmed. Moreover, many tiny cracks had appeared in quite a number of places. The restriction was about to be broken. Chu Hen's eyes turned cold. Dan Jun and the others beside him also revealed solemn expressions at the same time. The other experts gathered nearby also prepared to attack at any time. The Fong clan and the Heaven Snake clan aren't our only competitors. You must be careful, Shan Jun reminded in a low voice. Chu Hen nodded in agreement. Safety first. Everyone's eyes narrowed as they agreed in a low voice. Boom! At this moment, an unprecedentedly loud explosion reverberated between heaven and earth. Everyone's hearts skipped a beat, and their eyes lit up. In an instant, the gigantic light barrier that enveloped an area of 3,000 feet released a boundless brilliance. Cracks that resembled a dried-up riverbed rapidly extended outwards, resembling an extremely irregular giant spider web. Boom! In the next second, a magnificent scene that was comparable to a volcanic eruption appeared in front of everyone. Accompanied by the dazzling light, the huge light screen restriction immediately exploded, and majestic and monstrous force completely gushed out. Endless and mighty shock waves were like raging waves of a tsunami, and they swept across the entire area. The earth cracked and the sky collapsed. Rocks split and piled up. Countless demonic beasts were sent flying, lost their balance, and fell all over the place. The wind howled angrily, and the momentum was like thunder. The rolling momentum was like a magnificent army galloping down. Many ferocious demonic beasts seemed to be attacked by hurricanes, and mountains crashed. There were countless casualties, and all of them were knocked back. A thick layer of soil on the ground was blown off by the fierce shockwaves. The area around the ancient city, which was surrounded by demonic beasts just a moment ago, became extremely empty in an instant. As soon as the barrier was broken, the ancient city inside was revealed in front of everyone's eyes. A thick aura of desolation mixed with a biting cold wind blew over. Many magnificent ancient buildings were exposed under the surging clouds in the sky. Without any hesitation, the human experts who were hiding in all directions all flew out, rushing toward the ancient city at an extremely fast speed. Swoosh, 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 sharp wind-breaking sounds rang out one after another. Illusory shadows flashed across the sky, emitting a powerful aura. A bunch of reckless fools. The man from the Liao clan, who was holding the death god's scythe, sneered. His body moved like a Shurit demon harvesting human lives. As he rushed toward the ancient city, he killed the surrounding competitors along the way. On the other side, the young man from the Heavenly Serpent clan, Qi Lianchong, also made his move. He swept up a powerful, raging aura and rushed into the ancient city. Let's go. At the same time, Chu Hen and Dan Zhen also rode the two giant beasts across the sky, roaring at the sky and crossing over the tall city walls. Roar! Woo! Screech! Many huge demonic beasts in the rear area rushed toward them. Compared to the human wuxio, these demonic beasts' actions were much simpler and more violent. They directly used their sturdy and huge bodies to crash into the buildings in the city. Rumble. The ancient and imposing buildings were razed to the ground one after another, collapsing with a loud rumble and being trampled into ruins. The beast tide from all directions violently collided. It was like a torrent that broke through a dam, trampling through the city gates and directly into the city. What are these beasts trying to do? Su Lang frowned and said in a low voice. They naturally did not think that these evil beasts were also here for the heaven and earth mystic yellow token. There must be another purpose for such a large-scale attack. Look! Hua Shui cried out in surprise, pointing at a manor below and shouting. Everyone was stunned, and they followed her gaze. There were a few fruit trees that were more than 10 meters tall planted in the garden. The branches and leaves of the fruit trees emitted a gentle golden light. And on the fruit trees, there were sparkling fruits. These fruits were about the size of ordinary snow pears, but their appearance was very strange. They were round and shrunk into a ball, like exquisite little people. They looked similar to the legendary ginseng fruit. There were about a dozen of such fruits on each tree. Every fruit was dazzling, and there were faint gauze-like golden light patterns lingering around them. One look, and one could tell that they were extraordinary. Roar! When a tiger-shaped demonic beast saw the fruits on the tree, its ferocious eyes revealed a burning light. It flew up and bit a fruit into its mouth. However, before it could bite and swallow it, an incomparably furious violent bear king suddenly charged out. Its small mountain-like body heavily sat down on the tiger-shaped demonic beast. With a bang sound, the demonic beast was directly crushed into minced meat. Subsequently, the violent bear king picked up the strange fruit and stuffed it into its mouth. It chewed and swallowed, and it let out a satisfied roar. Subsequently, many demonic beasts rushed forward and started to fight for those strange fruits. Looking at the scene before them, everyone instantly understood the intention of these demonic beasts. Their target was these strange-looking fruits. In order to fight for those fruits, more and more demonic beasts joined the fight. They killed and bit each other, and it set off all sorts of chaotic battles. A 10,000 beast spirit fruit. It's actually a 10,000 beast spirit fruit. Jishu's red lips slightly opened, and she was extremely surprised. What is this? Hua Shui asked curiously. An extremely precious heaven and earth spirit treasure. To demonic beasts, the 10,000 beast spirit fruit is an extremely irresistible temptation. If a demonic beast consumes the 10,000 beast spirit fruit, it can increase its strength, and there's a certain chance for its bloodline to upgrade and evolve, Jishu roughly explained. Upgrade its bloodline? In other words, if a beast king eats the 10,000 beast spirit fruit, it can become a beast king? Yes. Jishu nodded affirmatively. There's a certain chance. Everyone was secretly shocked. No wonder these demonic beasts were so crazy, as if they didn't care about their lives. It turns out that the 10,000 beast spirit fruit has such an effect to upgrade its bloodline. This temptation was not small at all. Since the 10,000 beast spirit fruit is so powerful, it should be helpful to humans, right? Chi-Tung asked. However, Jishu shook her head without hesitation. No, the 10,000 beast spirit fruit can only be absorbed by demonic beasts. Humans have no way to refine its energy, Everyone couldn't help but feel disappointed. So it's useless, Hua Shui said with slight disdain. You're wrong. It's definitely not useless. Though the 10,000 bee spirit fruit is only effective for demonic beasts, no matter where it is, it's enough for people to fight for it. Oh, why is that? The few of them looked at each other in confusion. Jishu lifted her beautiful eyes, and a trace of seriousness flashed across them. Because the 10,000 bee spirit fruit has the special ability to make demonic beasts get closer to humans. Demonic beasts get closer to humans? That's right. When humans personally pick them, the 10,000 bee spirit fruit will automatically absorb a strand of inner chi from the human's body. At this time, the 10,000 bee spirit fruit will have the scent of a human. Then, if the demonic beasts consume the 10,000 bee spirit fruit, when the demonic beasts absorb the spiritual energy in the fruit, they will mistakenly accept the human scent. In the end, the demonic beasts will get close to you because of the familiar scent on you and treat you as a companion. Jishu paused and continued.